Chapter 4299. Kong Xinmu did not pay attention to the surrounding people's discussion. Now that he was fighting with Xiao Yuhua, he had already found the feeling. It was a feeling of certain victory. Xiao Yuhua was unable to defeat him in one move, not even seriously injuring him. In that case, it was impossible for Xiao Yuhua to defeat Kong Xinmu again. Of course, Kong Xinmu might not be able to defeat Xiao Yuhua. After all, his attack was also very weak against Xiao Yuhua and could not break her defense at all. However, Kong Xinmu could continuously recover, but Xiao Yuhua might not be able to. Under such circumstances, there was still a possibility of Kong Xinmu winning. At this moment, Kong Xinmu's resistance to fire attribute power had reached its peak. Although he had only devoured the energy of Xiao Yuhua's dragon martial technique twice, his devouring power could now quickly transform the opponent's power into his own resistance. Moreover, the physical resistance of Kong Xinmu's current divine dragon body had already become stronger due to the chaotic dragon body being cultivated to the dragon rank. With all kinds of methods stacked together, even if Xiao Yuhua used the mid-tier origin source dragon martial technique, it would still be difficult for her to hurt Kong Xinmu. In the arena, Kong Xinmu's angry roar erupted, and the void dragon sky-raising breaks offensive swept out continuously. Xiao Yuhua also gritted her teeth. She did not expect Kong Xinmu to be so difficult to deal with. Originally, she thought that she would win this exchange, but now, she could not hurt Kong Xinmu at all. No matter what kind of fire attribute power she used, she could not injure Kong Xinmu too seriously. Moreover, she soon discovered that the surface of Kong Xinmu's divine dragon body was even beginning to be covered with a layer of something like charcoal. The appearance of this charcoal-like existence made her fire attribute power attack on Kong Xinmu's dragon body even more ineffective. It was like burning a piece of charcoal, without any lethality. This was the first time Xiao Yuhua encountered such a situation. What kind of body-tempering dragon martial technique is this? Are body-tempering dragon martial techniques that strong? Xiao Yuhua found it hard to imagine what kind of technique Kong Xinmu had cultivated. He was actually able to become stronger and stronger under the indiscriminate bombardment, relying on this to launch a counterattack. She was also very experienced in combat, so she quickly judged Kong Xinmu's main fighting style, and her judgment was very accurate. Although it was impossible for her to guess the details, it was already very impressive for her to be able to determine these things. She saw through this and gave up on attacking. While defending against Kong Xinmu's attack, she observed Kong Xinmu's surface condition. She discovered that after she stopped attacking, the charcoal-like substance on the surface of Kong Xinmu's dragon body gradually dissipated, revealing brand new divine dragon scales that had clearly just recovered. It seems to be effective. Her eyes lit up as if she had found a way to deal with Kong Xinmu. And after she stopped attacking, Kong Xinmu was also a little puzzled. The girl in front of him seemed to have seen through some of his fighting style. After the other party stopped attacking, Kong Xinmu's resistance to fire attribute power was indeed slowly decreasing. Although it would not decrease too much in a short period of time, but if it continued like this, his resistance to fire attribute power would really be reduced to the initial state after a few days. At that time, if the girl suddenly launched a sudden attack on him, he really might not be able to withstand it. After all, this time the other party was already mentally prepared and knew that ordinary methods were useless against Kong Xinmu. Instead, it would make Kong Xinmu's defense stronger. Although it would take a few days, but this Xiao Yuhua in front of him actually saw through this, it still made Kong Xinmu quite depressed. And it was obviously impossible for him to rely on continuous attacks to exhaust all of Xiao Yuhua's power. This Xiao Yuhua's cultivation realm was 3 levels higher than Kong Xinmu's, and the nirvana talent in her body was many times more concentrated than Kong Xinmu's. If this continued, Kong Xinmu really did not have the confidence to kill her. This battle is a draw. At this moment, the beautiful super mystical dragon Dean suddenly spoke, asking the two of them to end the battle. Obviously, she also saw that this battle would be in a stalemate, so she ended the battle prematurely. After all, it was not a life and death battle, so there was no need to determine the winner. Actually, when Xiao Yuhua gave up on attacking Kong Xinmu, there was no need for the battle to continue. Because even Xiao Yuhua had been forced to stop. No matter what, Kong Xinmu had the strength to fight to a draw with Xiao Yuhua. Since he had the strength to fight to a draw with Xiao Yuhua, then there was not much of a problem for him to join the Yuhing district of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy. Kong Xinmu, You will officially join our Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy and become a student of the Yuhing district. The beautiful super mystical dragon Dean glanced at Kong Shin-mu. But you also know that each Dragon Martial Arts Academy can only have a maximum of 15 students in the Yuhing district. And our Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy's quota is full. In other words, you are currently only a student of the Yuhing district, and you cannot enjoy some of the privileges of a student of the Yuhing district. For example, cultivating in the Yuhing district. I hope you can understand. After all, if you go to the Yuhing district to cultivate, the dragon mark energy that the other Yuhing district students can absorb will be affected. Kong Shin-mu was very clear about this. Now that he had interfered, it was not very possible for him to cultivate in the Yuhing district. But this was not what he wanted. After all, it was not the time for him to absorb a large amount of dragon mark energy. As long as he could accept the training missions that only Yuhing district students could accept, it would be enough. Then, I should be able to accept the training missions in the Yuhing district, right? Kong Shin-mu asked. It's not a big problem to go to the Yuhing district to cultivate, at least not in the near future. Anyway, he would only have to wait for 1 more year. When the next competition between the academies started, he would fight his way to the Yuhing district openly. By then, it would be impossible for them not to give him a quota to cultivate. Of course. The beautiful super mystical dragon Dean glanced at Kong Shin-mu, smiled and said, "You're not bad. However, when you reach the Yuhing district, it's a little different from before. Go to the training stone tablet, and you'll find something." As soon as she finished speaking, she raised her hand, and a stream of flame energy descended from the sky, landing on the back of Kong Shin-mu and Ran Ran's hands. It was a picture of a fire phoenix spreading its wings. Emperor Shi's seal. Kong Shin-mu and Ran Ran were a little excited. The appearance of the Emperor Shi's seal meant that they had truly become students of the Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy. However, Kong Shin-mu looked at his other wrist. Chu Yueqiang's ice flower mark had disappeared, and he could not help but feel a little disappointed. All of this was because of Zhua Xiaofeng, who had brought trouble to Kong Shin-mu. Kong Shin-mu's eyes flashed with a hint of fierceness. Now that he had joined the Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy, he would definitely do his best to cultivate and rise. In the future, he would definitely make Zhua Xiaofeng pay the price. Chapter 4300. After obtaining Emperor Shi's seal, Kong Shin-mu was now considered an official student of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy. However, because he was only a student of Yuhing district in name, he was temporarily arranged to stay in the palace of Yaoguang district. The palaces of Kong Shin-mu and Ran Ran were quite close. Moreover, the beautiful super mystical dragon Dean personally brought the two of them to the palaces that were arranged for them. Along the way, Kong Shin-mu saw many students of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy. He felt that there were indeed more female students in this academy. However, this had nothing to do with Kong Shin-mu. Anyway, he rarely interacted with other students. The key was to improve his strength as quickly as possible. As for the relaxed requirements of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy for female dragon martial artists, Kong Shin-mu did not care. Those male dragon martial artists who met the requirements could also go to other dragon martial academies. When Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy recruited students, they would basically remind the male students and give them a chance to be teleported to other dragon martial academies. This kind of opportunity was quite good for male dragon martial artists, and it was also beneficial for other dragon martial academies. The other dragon martial academies would not reject it. Very soon, the beautiful super mystical dragon Dean brought Kong Shin-mu and Ran Ran to their respective palaces. "Dean, how should I address you?" When they parted, Kong Shin-mu was quite grateful to the beautiful super mystical dragon Dean, so he could not help but ask, "Just call me Dean." The other party did not say much. She only smiled faintly and turned to leave. Kong Shin-mu did not think much of it. He had finally arrived at Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy, and he had the token that Yu Tianchong gave him. It seemed that this beautiful Dean was a little too nice to him. After all, she personally led the way to their accommodations, and other students did not receive such treatment. Next, Kong Shin-mu rested for a night, then brought Ran Ran to the place where the experience stone tablet was located. After the situation was settled, he had to work hard. He had to improve his strength as quickly as possible. Right now, he was nominally a student of the Yuhing district of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy. Hence, He could accept missions and missions that only students of the Yuhing district could accept. When he brought Ran Ran near the experience stone stele, he took a few glances and his expression became extremely interesting. The experience stone stele that the students of Yuhing district saw was actually like this? To be honest, he had never thought that the contents of the experience stone tablet would change according to the student's status. No wonder all the students from the other districts would come to this experience stone tablet to accept their missions. Previously, Kong Shin-mu could only see the missions in the outermost Alcade district on the experience stone tablet. But now, he could see a lot more experience missions. The extra training missions were all missions that were suitable for the students of Yuhing district to attempt to complete. Moreover, there was a category that caught Kong Shin-mu's attention. That was the Beast Abyss trial. Kong Shin-mu did not know what the Beast Abyss trial was. He did not know what kind of place the Beast Abyss was. However, it seemed to be a series of training missions, and there was no clear goal. The experience stone tablet only stated that as long as one brought back a demonic core, they would be able to exchange it for experience points. The demonic cores of different levels of demonic beasts could be exchanged for different experience points. Of course, the stronger the demonic beast, the more experience points one could exchange for. In other words, this Beast Abyss is a place where demonic beasts gather. Students can go in and kill demonic beasts at will, obtain demonic cores, and exchange them for experience points? Kong Shin-mu thought about it and decided to take it that way for the time being. He had always been curious about where the Dragon Martial Academy got so many cultivation resources from. After all, many pills and the like required materials to make them. Now he understood. This Beast Abyss should be a place with abundant resources, and the things that students obtained could be exchanged for experience points. The Dragon Martial Academy collected these things and made them into pills and the like, then let the students exchange experience points for them. This was a virtuous cycle. You want to go to the Beast Abyss? Just as Kong Shin-mu was observing the experience stone tablet, a voice suddenly rang out. It was a girl's voice, and it was delicate and clear, as if she was in a dream. Kong Shin-mu and Ran Ran turned around and saw the Yuhing Zone student, Xiao Yuhua, wearing a long green dress, slowly flying toward the experience stone tablet. She looked at Kong Shin-mu with interest. The Beast Abyss sounds very attractive, but the competition here is very strong. Dragon martial artists from our Yuhing Zone don't recommend going to the Beast Abyss. Why? Isn't it just hunting demonic beasts? Kong Shin-mu was somewhat puzzled. He did not feel too distant with Xiao Yuhua. After all, they would be in the same academy in the future, and he would definitely have many interactions with her. Although it's just hunting demonic beasts, there are weak and strong demonic beasts. You won't be able to deal with strong demonic beasts. Many weak demonic beasts will seek refuge with strong demonic beasts to protect themselves. Xiao Yuhua explained, the key is that the Beast Abyss is not only accessible to students from our Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy. Students from the other 3 Dragon Martial Academies can also go. Therefore, the competition in the Beast Abyss is very intense. Usually, even if you want to go, you will form a large team and not go alone. Of course, if you are good at hiding and have the ability to protect yourself, then going to the Beast Abyss is not a bad choice. The Beast Abyss is rich in resources, and there are even many wild treasures. If one's own safety is guaranteed, it would be much faster to mingle in the Beast Abyss than to complete those low-level training missions. After Xiao Yuhua's explanation, Kong Shin-mu understood what the Beast Abyss was all about. The students from the Yuhing Zone barely met the requirements to go to the Beast Abyss. However, those who would really go to the Beast Abyss were usually the stronger students. Otherwise, even if they went in and killed demonic beasts, the other students from the Dragon Martial Academy might snatch the spoils of war. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. This kind of situation was not uncommon in the Beast Abyss. Kong Shin-mu nodded and said, I understand. Thank you. Then I won't go to the Beast Abyss for now. I'll look at the other missions. He found out that Ran Ran could not go to the Beast Abyss with him. There were no restrictions on the other missions. If Kong Shin-mu accepted them, he could also bring Ran Ran to complete them. After completing them, both parties would be rewarded with experience points. However, only students from the Yuhing Zone could go to the Beast Abyss. This was an iron rule. Otherwise, only death awaited them. Chapter 4301. Kong Shinmu put aside the matter of training in the Beast Abyss for the time being. Then, he began to choose from the missions on the Experience Stone Steel. The number of missions available to students in the Yuhing district was obviously much more than before. This was definitely not due to the change to the Dragon Martial Academy. I'll take this mission. Hunt the floating dragon country's snow sky wolf demon. Jiang Shenwu took a look and decided on the target he wanted to deal with this time. The floating dragon country was located to the north of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy. That place was rather cold, so if there were any demonic beasts, they would be extremely resistant to the cold. There were snow sky wolf demons in the Flame Dragon Empire as well. They were demonic beasts that traveled in packs. Once they appeared, they would be in large packs. As for the grades of demonic beasts, the previous Kong Shinmu only knew about the Sky Demon. But to the current him, the Sky Demon of the past was nothing at all. In the past, when Jiang Shenwu was in the Jiang clan, the earth demons that he had encountered were basically equivalent to the Dragon Ascension realm. In front of the current Jiang Shenwu, he could easily kill them. The so-called Sky Demon back then, Kong Shinmu felt that it was similar to a dragon martial artist who had inherited the essence of a sky dragon martial artist and cultivated to the divine martial realm. The divine martial realm of the divine dragon martial artist could not even withstand one move from Kong Shinmu. But the grading of demonic beasts was not that simple. The demonic beasts that Kong Shinmu would face now were all much stronger than the sky demon beasts he had encountered before. Like dragon martial artists, demonic beasts also had nirvana tribulations. Once they passed the nirvana tribulations, they would become nirvana tribulation realm demonic beasts. Their combat strength would increase, and their demon cores would possess nirvana power. The Liang cat beasts that Kong Shinmu had faced before were nirvana tribulation realm demonic beasts. Other than cultivation levels, demonic beasts were also differentiated by the strength of their bloodlines. The golden Liang cat beast was similar to the Dragon King's inherited blood essence, while the silver Liang cat beast was similar to the divine dragon's inherited blood essence. At that time, they were all close to the peak of the nirvana tribulation realm. That was why it was so difficult for Kong Shinmu and the others to deal with them. The golden beam cat beast wasn't something he could deal with alone back then. But it was different now. Kong Shinmu now understood that the bloodline of the monster beast was similar to the dragon martial artist's blood essence. The most basic was the mortal Fae, followed by the Sky Fae. Back in the Jiang clan, Kong Shinmu and the others were too weak, so the Fae beasts they encountered were at most of this level. However, after the Sky Demons, there was the even stronger Saint Demons. After the Saint Demons there was the Demon Kings and finally the Demon Sovereigns. The combat power of a Demon Emperor was already comparable to that of a Dragon Emperor. Kong Shinmu only learned the detailed classification of demonic beasts' bloodlines after he entered the Dragon Martial Academy. Before that, he wasn't very clear about it. The target of this training mission was the floating dragon country's Snow Wolf Demon. It was led by a Demon King, many Saint Demons, and even more Heaven Demons. Such a Snow Wolf Demon pack couldn't be encircled on a large scale. Otherwise, these Snow Wolf Demons would all hide in the snowy mountains, and it would be impossible to find them. Therefore, it naturally became the training mission of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy. The Demon King leading them was at the peak of the Nirvana Tribulation realm. Only the students of the Yuhing district would be able to contend against this kind of wolf demon leader, not to mention the countless weaker wolf demons in the surroundings. All of them added together, no matter how strong they wouldn't be able to handle them. However, this training mission was perfect for Kong Shinmu and Ran Ran. Kong Shinmu could hold off the Demon King while Ran Ran dealt with the other wolf demons around them. It wouldn't be a problem at all. This was because the cultivation of the Dark Dragon Filth controlling art made their endurance in battle extremely strong. I'll take this mission. Kong Shinmu accepted such a training mission and had Ran Ran leave a mark on the stone tablet. This meant that Ran Ran was willing to take this mission with him. Snow Wolf Demon? Xiao Yuhua's expression changed when she saw Kong Shinmu accept such a training mission. This mission can't be completed by just one or two people. It said that there are at least 1,000 snow wolf demons in that area. It's okay. Even if there are 10,000, I'm not afraid, let alone 1,000. Kong Shinmu said with a smile. Xiao Yuhua looked at him, then at Ran Ran, and secretly shook her head. She had fought with Kong Shinmu before and knew that Kong Shinmu's endurance in battle was very strong. However, no matter how strong his combat power was, He wouldn't be able to withstand the attack of 1,000 snow wolf demons, right? He was injured too quickly and heavily. He couldn't recover in time, and his strength couldn't keep up. Xiao Yuhua didn't say much. Anyway, Kong Xinmu's relationship with her was just that, and they were even somewhat competitive. If Kong Xinmu really suffered some losses, she would be happy to see it. Of course, she believed that with Kong Xinmu's means and ability, he wouldn't die in the floating dragon country. Seeing that she didn't say much, Kong Xinmu nodded at Ran Ran and led her directly to the Emperor Shi Formation. The Emperor Shi Formation corresponded to the East Emperor Formation of Donghuang Yonggu College. It was the place where the training mission departed and returned. Without the Emperor Shi Formation, it would take the students a few months to complete the training mission. It wouldn't be efficient at all. Kong Xinmu brought Ran Ran to the Emperor Shi Formation. The number of students in the Emperor Shi Dragon Martial Academy was about the same as that of Donghuang Yonggu College. Therefore, it wasn't easy to meet other students near the Emperor Shi Formation and the training stone steel. He brought Ran Ran with him and headed to the location marked on the training mission on the training stone steel. He paid some experience points and chose to teleport there. What Kong Xinmu didn't expect was that the experience points seemed to be universal in all the major dragon martial academies. He still had some experience points left in Donghuang Yonggu College, and he could use them to activate the Emperor Shi Formation. Otherwise, he was afraid that he would have to borrow some experience points from other people. The Emperor Shi Formation was activated. Kong Xinmu and Ran Ran were teleported to a land of ice and snow. The place where they appeared seemed to be a dragon warrior military camp. The camp of dragon martial artists was stationed at the foot of a snowy mountain. It could be felt that many dragon martial artists with Sky Dragon and True Dragon blood essence were stationed in the camp. However, the members of the Dragon Martial Artist Army seemed to be very depressed. Those Snow Mountain Demon Wolves were too cunning. If they encountered a large group, they would flee. If they encountered a small group, they would kill them. This caused the Dragon Martial Artist Army of the Floating Dragon Country to suffer heavy losses. Chapter 4302. When Kong Xinmu and Ran Ran appeared in the camp of the Dragon Martial Artist Army, many dragon martial artists looked at them. The students from Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy are here. Soon, someone recognized them. However, after taking a closer look at Kong Xinmu and Ran Ran's cultivation realm, their expressions changed again and again. What's going on? Why are there two students from the Dragon Martial Academy? One is at the 7th tier of the Nirvana Tribulation Realm, and the other is only at the 5th tier of the Nirvana Tribulation Realm. They can't possibly be here to hunt the Snow Wolf Demon, right? Nonsense. The Snow Wolf Demon King has many Nirvana Tribulation Realm Saint Demons at the peak of the Nirvana Tribulation Realm. These two students can't even deal with them. They started whispering to each other. They were obviously not optimistic about Kong Xinmu and Ran Ran. Rather than saying that Kong Xinmu and Ran Ran were here to hunt the Snow Wolf Demon, it was more likely that they were just here to check on the situation. Generally speaking, this was also the case. Some students from the Dragon Martial Academy were not sure if they could accept the mission, so they would come to check on the situation first. If they couldn't, they would just go back and give up. After all, the Dragon Martial Academy did not provide much information. Many things had to be investigated on the spot. Now, in the eyes of these dragon martial artists, Kong Xinmu and Ran Ran should be here to check on the situation. A Rebirth Tribulation Realm dragon martial artist, who also had the powerful blood essence of the Dragon King, quickly arrived in front of Kong Xinmu and Ran Ran. Hello, both of you. This person should be the commander of the Dragon Martial Artist Army in charge of this area. After all, a Rebirth Tribulation Realm Dragon King powerhouse was about the same strength as the 12 Flame Dragon envoys of the Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty. Moreover, the guy in front of him gave Kong Xinmu a lot more pressure than the 12 Flame Dragon envoys. Their realms should be about the same, but his methods and combat strength were enough to crush the Flame Dragon envoys of the Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty. This was a middle-aged man with a full beard. He was very polite to Kong Xinmu and Ran Ran. Kong Xinmu smiled and said, "We're here to hunt the Snow Sky Wolf Demon beasts. I wonder where they are now, and how many of them are there." "Just the two of you?" The bearded middle-aged man looked a little surprised. "That's right, just the two of us." Kong Xinmu nodded. The bearded man could not help but laugh. "Little brother, those Snow Sky Wolf demons are not so easy to deal with. The leader is a snow wolf demon at the peak of the Nirvana Tribulation realm. He has 8 saint demons under him, and all of them are at the peak of the Nirvana Tribulation realm. These snow sky wolf demons have been causing trouble for a long time. Unfortunately, we have no way to eliminate them. After all, they are wolves and are too cunning. However, they are also trapped in the snow mountain by us, unable to obtain more resources to improve their realm. Therefore, there are no reincarnation tribulation realm existences among them. However, that demon king should be able to choose to break through. Unfortunately, breaking through to the reincarnation tribulation realm will cause quite a commotion, and it does not dare to break through in the snow mountain. To break through to the reincarnation tribulation realm, one had to undergo the reincarnation tribulation. The strength of the snow sky wolf demon was far inferior to that of many dragon emperors. If they were to fight head-on, even the bearded middle-aged man in front of Kong Shin Mu could easily kill that demon king. However, the key was that the snow sky wolf demon king was too cunning, and it was impossible to accurately pinpoint its location. Once a powerful dragon martial artist appeared, the wolf demons would directly hide in the Great Snow Mountain, making it difficult to find them. That was why this group of snow sky wolf demons had survived until now. However, if they wanted to improve, it would be more difficult. The snow sky wolf demons had already eaten all the heavenly treasures in the vicinity of the snowy mountains. If the entire tribe stayed in the Great Snowy Mountains, it was likely that they would run out of food. After all, this group was too large. Therefore, I'm afraid the 2 of you are not enough, the bearded middle-aged man said honestly. It's precisely because we don't look strong that we can take the opportunity to kill that group of snow sky wolf demons. Isn't that right? Kong Shin Mu smiled and shook his head. He was not angry. There was no need for him to be angry at the other party's kind reminder. No one would look down on the students of the Dragon Martial Academy. The bearded middle-aged man also felt that Kong Shin Mu and Ran Ran definitely had some tricks up their sleeves. However, no matter how strong they were, their cultivation levels were too low, and it would be difficult for them to deal with that group of snow sky wolf demons. Therefore, he was thinking about Kong Shin Mu and Ran Ran's safety. However, Kong Shin Mu was much more relieved after understanding the overall strength of the group of snow sky wolf demons. There was only one demon king and not many saint demons. The rest were all sky demons. Although sky demons were very powerful, they were nothing to the current Kong Shin Mu. He would not be injured no matter how the sky demons attacked him. Don't worry, Senior. Just tell me where the group of snow sky wolf demons appeared last time. We can just go there and kill them, Kong Shin Mu said to the other party. The bearded middle-aged man carefully sized up Jiang Shenwu, looked again and finally sighed. He shook his head and said, "Then take this well." He handed a tube of fireworks to Kong Shin Mu. "If you encounter any danger and can't hold on, light this up. Our people will be there as soon as possible." "Thank you." Kong Shin Mu took the tube of fireworks and did not reject it. He was not arrogant enough to think that he was invincible. Not to mention him, even students who were stronger than him might encounter fatal danger. If he encountered danger, this tube of fireworks could save his life. This made Kong Shin Mu feel a little emotional. Previously, when he was in Donghuang Yonggu College, there might have been some secret rules that if students encountered danger during training, the mark on their wrists was a life-saving measure. Now, Kong Shin Mu had Emperor Shi's seal on his wrist. The beautiful dean told him that if he encountered some danger, he could activate Emperor Shi's seal, but he only had one chance. The other students of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy were the same as when he was in Donghuang Yonggu College. They had the help of mentors and 3 chances. However, Kong Shin Mu came in through special channels. He was directly protected by the beautiful dean who was a super mystical dragon. Although he only had one chance, the beautiful dean was much stronger than ordinary mentors. When he was in Donghuang Yonggu College, the dragon country that issued missions basically did not care about the life and death of the college. After all, they had their own life-saving measures. He did not expect the Dragon Martial Artist Legion commander of the floating dragon country to be so concerned about Kong Shin Mu. He also did not know if all the dragon countries near Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy were like this, or was this a special case? Perhaps it's the floating dragon country's own investment. Kong Shin Mu thought to himself. After all, he was a student of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy and had a bright future. Chapter 4303. After clarifying the situation, Kong Shinmu and Ran Ran bade farewell to the Dragon Martial Warrior Corps. The two transformed into dragons and flew towards the Great Snow Mountain. The Snow Wolf Demons were located in the depths of the Great Snow Mountain. The entire Great Snow Mountain covered a vast area. Even if there were thousands of Snow Wolf Demons, it would be difficult to find them hiding in the Great Snow Mountain. Therefore, Kong Shinmu and Ran Ran did not intend to waste any effort to find them. They intended to enter the Great Snow Mountain in a high-profile manner and lure them out. From the Dragon Martial Warrior Corps of the Floating Dragon Country, Kong Shinmu knew that the Snow Wolf Demons were having a hard time. After all, they could not leave the vicinity of the Great Snow Mountain, and food was scarce. Kong Shinmu and Ran Ran did not have a high cultivation base. If they appeared in the depths of the Great Snow Mountain, the Snow Wolf Demons would definitely try to attack them. The Snow Wolf Demons were very vigilant. If there were other beings behind Kong Shinmu and Ran Ran, the Snow Wolf Demons would not appear. However, if they went in alone, there would be no other Dragon Martial Warrior within a radius of 10,000 miles. Under such circumstances, the Snow Wolf Demons would not give up this opportunity. Kong Shinmu and Ran Ran, and the two black dragons proudly roamed the Great Snow Mountain. When they reached the depths of the Great Snow Mountain, the two dragons were covered in a layer of snow. However, they only needed to tremble slightly to shake off the layer of snow. The two pretended to be in a hurry, and flew straight into the depths of the Great Snow Mountain from above. After a day and night, the two black dragons, which were more than 4,000 feet long, stopped on a peak of the Great Snow Mountain and took a break. In fact, Kong Shinmu and Ran Ran did not need to rest. However, normal Dragon Martial Warriors of this level would definitely need to rest for a while after flying for a day and night. This towering snowy peak was the place that Jiang Shenwu planned to use as the battlefield. He stopped and did not move for the time being. Instead, he returned to his human form and rested with Ran Ran. They looked very relaxed, but in fact, they were constantly observing the situation around them. Once there was anything unusual, they would immediately notice it. However, to Kong Shinmu's surprise, as soon as he returned to his human form, he saw a shadow flash past his eyes. If it was somewhere else, he might not have been able to discover this figure. But this was the Great Snow Mountain. Everything was white. Anyone could see the slightest abnormality at a glance. It's the Nightmare Ink Beast. Although Kong Shinmu couldn't see it clearly, he was sure of the identity of the figure. He had never imagined that this Mo Wu beast would actually follow him all the way from Donghuang Yonggu College to such a faraway place. It must have been attached to his black dragon body all this time, preventing it from showing any signs of abnormalities. No one had discovered any traces of it. But when they arrived at the Great Snow Mountain, Kong Shinmu transformed into his human form, and the Nightmare Ink Beast could no longer remain hidden. Of course, this was only in relative terms. In any case, the figure in front of Kong Shinmu had only flashed for a moment before disappearing. Even Kong Shinmu did not know where that fellow had run off to. In any case, this Nightmare Ink Beast following Kong Shinmu was a good thing for Kong Shinmu. Now, he also suspected that his enhanced perception had something to do with the Nightmare Ink Beast's attachment. It was precisely because the Nightmare Ink Beast was by his side that he could sense the Nightmare Ink Beast's approach earlier. The Nightmare Ink Beast's figure only flashed for a moment before disappearing. On this snowy mountain, no one knew where it had hidden itself. However, the Nightmare Ink Beast's concealment ability was too strong. Even in this environment, as long as one adapted a little, no one would be able to find a trace of it. Ignore it for now. This fellow is very good at survival and concealment. Kong Shinmu shook his head, not thinking too much about it. Although the Nightmare Ink Beast followed him, and he was relatively familiar with it, it was impossible for him to capture it. If the Nightmare Ink Beast did not appear on its own, Kong Shinmu would just pretend that it did not exist. Moreover, this thing would not affect Kong Shinmu much. He and Ran Ran squatted on the peak of this snowy mountain for an entire night. During this period, they pretended to be cultivating. The moonlight shone on the snowy mountain, reflecting the light of the snowflakes. On the snowy plains, there was a bright glow. Although it was night, the vision was not bad at all. Instead, it was very wide. The cold wind blew, but to Kong Shinmu and Ran Ran, it did not affect them at all. Just like this, the sky was about to brighten. Suddenly, there were some noises in the surroundings, coming from the darkness. Snow Sky Wolf Demons seem to have surrounded us. Kong Shinmu's heart stirred. On the surface, he did not show it, but in reality, he was already extremely vigilant. On the way here, he had already discussed with Ran Ran. The Demon King leader of the Snow Sky Wolf demons would be dealt with by Kong Shinmu himself. As for the other small fries, he would leave it to Ran Ran to deal with. Although there were 8 wolf demons with sacred demon bloodlines among this pack of Snow Sky Wolf demons, to Ran Ran, they did not pose much of a threat. The other dragon martial artists were mainly afraid that there were too many wolves. If that happened, they would exhaust their strength, and no matter how strong they were, they would be devoured by the wolves. But Kong Shinmu and Ran Ran had both cultivated the dark dragon filth control art. In terms of protracted battles, they were at least 10 times stronger than ordinary dragon martial artists. Sensing that the surrounding wolf pack seemed to be approaching, Kong Shinmu and Ran Ran both became vigilant. All of a sudden, a thick layer of snowflakes exploded beneath their feet. 2 incomparably tyrannical figures flew out from under their feet. They were actually incomparably huge, like a 3-story pavilion. The huge black figures were reflected on the snowy mountain under the moonlight. These 2 were 2 sacred demon-level Snow Sky Wolf demons. They were in wolf form, but their bodies were much larger, and they could swallow 10 Kong Shinmus in one mouthful. This was because of the sacred demon bloodline. The 2 sacred demon Snow Sky Wolf demons, which were hundreds of feet long, suddenly appeared, wanting to catch Kong Shinmu and Ran Ran unprepared. Unfortunately, the 2 were already prepared. When the snow under their feet exploded, they transformed into dragons at almost the same time. Dragon martial artists transforming into dragons, intimidating the heavens and earth. 2 more than 400 feet long Dragon King bodies instantly appeared on the snowy mountain. In the exploding snowflakes, a few black dragon phantoms appeared in the surroundings. Immediately after, 6 pitch-black beams of light swept towards the 2 Snow Sky Wolf demons that suddenly attacked. The terrifying power instantly blasted the 2 Snow Sky Wolf demons back. The other party wanted to launch a sneak attack, but their sneak attack did not succeed. They did not panic even though their attack did not hit. Instead, they calmly retreated, their wolf eyes revealing a vigilant look. The Void Dragon's sky-piercing break attacks didn't cause much damage to them. This was because these 2 sacred demons were powerful existences at the peak of the Nirvana Tribulation realm. Chapter 4304. I'll leave these 2 sacred snow wolves to you first. Kong Shinmu looked at the 2 sacred snow wolves and said to Ran Ran. Ran Ran, who had transformed into a slender black dragon, nodded. She flew forward. Her 400-foot-long divine dragon body was extremely oppressive in front of the 2 sacred snow wolves. She executed the Shadow Dragon sky-piercing strike once again. It exploded with terrifying power and swept towards the 2 sacred snow wolves. Unfortunately, her attack was a little weak against the 2 sacred snow wolves. A blizzard erupted around the 2 sacred snow wolves at almost the same time, surrounding them and protecting them tightly. Ran Ran's attack was actually unable to break through the protective layer of the blizzard that surrounded them. However, Kong Shinmu didn't mind. In comparison, Ran Ran's attack was indeed more simple, but she could withstand it. Although she didn't cultivate any body-tempering dragon martial techniques, she didn't have any strong defensive dragon martial techniques. However, her strong recovery ability allowed her to withstand the attacks of the 2 sacred snow wolves without any pressure. Not to mention too, even if more came, she would still be fine. Kong Shinmu was wary of his surroundings. He didn't expect the snow wolves to be able to burrow into the snow. No wonder the dragon martial artists couldn't find them when they were hiding. He didn't know if the entire Snow Sky Wolf demon tribe had come. Could it be that thousands of snow wolves were hiding in the snow beneath their feet? Soon, Kong Shinmu knew that his guess was correct. As the 2 sacred snow wolves and Ran Ran fought fiercely, more and more sacred snow wolves emerged from the snow beneath them. Every sacred snow wolf, regardless of the grade of their bloodline, was exceptionally ferocious. Looking at the divine dragons that Kong Shinmu and Ran Ran had transformed into, they felt incomparably ferocious. They were too hungry. The snow wolf demon tribe had eaten most of the edible things in the snowy mountains. Now that they saw 2 dragon martial artists, how could they not be excited? More and more Snow Sky Wolf demons appeared, and a few other saint demons emerged from the ice and snow, charging towards Ran Ran, who was closest to them. Kong Shinmu was quite a distance away, so these Snow Sky Wolf demons might think that he was trying to escape. It would be rather difficult for a saint-level demon to catch up with Kong Shin Mu. Therefore, the snow wolves did not chase after Kong Shin Mu. But soon, a snow-white brilliance suddenly burst out from a snow-white mountain peak, and then a snow-white giant wolf demon rushed out. When the gigantic snow-white wolf demon broke through the ice and charged towards Kong Shin Mu, all the snow wolf demons howled at the same time. It was the demon king of the snow heavenly wolf demon tribe. The howls of the snow sky wolf demon king seemed to have a strange power that increased the power and strength of the snow sky wolf demon king that suddenly attacked. Originally, Kong Shin Mu did not need to be afraid of the demon king's attack at the level of the body-refining dragon martial technique. But after the howling of the wolves, the demon king could already pose a threat to Kong Shin Mu. Of course, the threat did not mean the threat to kill him. It was almost impossible for Kong Shin Mu to die in the hands of the demon king. The snow sky wolf demon king was about the same size as the divine dragon body of a dragon king or a dragon martial artist. Its whole body was surrounded by the terrifying power of the blizzard. A gust of wind and snow seemed to fall from the sky, enveloping Kong Shin Mu in the sky. The terrible lethality left horrible bloody marks on his divine dragon body. Because it was an attack formed by the power of ice and snow, the bloody marks were frozen as soon as they appeared. The black dragon that Jiang Shenwu had transformed into was covered in bloodstains that had been frozen by ice and snow. He looked extremely miserable, and even the aura and pressure of a dragon martial artist had been reduced to its lowest point. A heavy blow. Jiang Shenwu did not expect the demon king to be so tyrannical. He could feel the pain coming from the divine dragon's body, but it was as if he did not feel it. The devouring nirvana power had already erupted in secret. The dark dragon filth controlling skill also began to quickly heal the injuries suffered by Kong Shin Mu. The power of devouring nirvana turned into a black mist, covering his whole body, and soon the power of ice and snow that had gathered was completely devoured. It would only take a moment for Kong Shin Mu to recover from this injury. Moreover, his resistance to the power of ice and snow would increase to a very terrifying level. Void Dragon Sky-Piercing Strike. Kong Shin Mu used the same method as Ran to counterattack the Snow Sky Wolf Demon King. Although this dragon martial technique seemed a little weak now, there was no doubt that it was still Kong Shin Mu's most powerful attack. 6 beams of pitch-black power shot out from the mouths of the 6 black dragon shadows in midair, instantly hitting the body of the Snow Sky Wolf Demon King. Unfortunately, this level of attack could not even break the defense of a sacred fae, let alone this Demon King. However, Kong Shin Mu did not care. He was just giving it a try anyway. It was enough to exhaust the power of the Demon King. Faced with Kong Shin Mu's attack, the Demon King of course gathered the power of ice and snow and blocked it with a defensive method. Immediately after, it launched an attack on Kong Shin Mu. It discovered that Kong Shin Mu had been seriously injured by it. It only needed to attack a few more times and the dragon martial artist in front of it would become its food. Unfortunately, when it launched a second attack on Kong Shin Mu, it discovered that this time, Kong Shin Mu was not seriously injured. Kong Shin Mu's resistance to the power of ice and snow became stronger and stronger. He was originally the type of person who was proficient in protracted battles. At this moment, the Snow Sky Wolf Demon King failed to kill Kong Shin Mu with one blow and make Kong Shin Mu lose the ability to fight. This meant that it was already heading towards defeat. As if sensing that Kong Shin Mu had some special ability, the Demon King did not attack Kong Shin Mu unscrupulously. Instead it howled. In this howl, which was filled with the aura of a king, more and more Snow Sky Wolf demons emerged from the ice and snow below and attacked Kong Shin Mu. There were hundreds of them. Many of these Snow Sky Wolf demons had the bloodline of a sky demon, but their cultivation had also reached the Nirvana Tribulation realm. Once the number of such existences reached a certain level, they would pose a great threat to ordinary dragon martial artists. But now, Kong Shin Mu did not care about the number of opponents at all. Let them attack as they please. If they can hurt me, it's my loss. Kong Shin Mu did not care about the Snow Sky Wolf demons at all. One had to know that he had faced an army of dragon martial artists alone when he was in the Fire Dragon army. Moreover, the current Kong Shin Mu was not just a little bit stronger than back then. These Snow Sky Wolf demons in front of him were nothing. Go ahead and attack. Kong Shin Mu was calm. Countless Snow Sky Wolf demons attacked Kong Shin Mu from all directions, erupting with extremely terrifying power of wind and snow. However, this level of power of wind and snow was simply negligible to Kong Shin Mu. In the next moment, Kong Shinmu's black dragon body directly rushed out of the encirclement of the wolves without using any methods or dragon martial techniques. Chapter 4305. The battle had begun. Kong Shinmu's black dragon body unleashed endless energy from the devouring nirvana force, enveloping the Snow Sky Wolf Demon King and frantically devouring all its power. Although the Snow Sky Wolf Demon King was at the peak of the nirvana tribulation realm, it was nothing to Kong Shinmu. The current Kong Shinmu could already deal with existences at the reincarnation tribulation realm. Of course, as long as the opponent was not a dragon emperor or a demon emperor, it would be fine. Otherwise, Kong Shinmu was still far from it. Moreover, among dragon martial artists, the improvement of the divine dragon blood essence was synchronized with the improvement of one's cultivation level. Both needed time to improve. Therefore, most dragon emperor experts had reached the reincarnation tribulation realm. Kong Shinmu was no match for such an existence. But against king-level opponents, Kong Shinmu was not afraid at all. For demonic beasts, their bloodline level was fixed at birth and could not be changed. When they reached adulthood, they would be able to unleash their full combat power. After that, they would need to cultivate. For example, this Snow Sky Wolf Demon King had reached the peak of the Nirvana Tribulation realm. Due to the lack of more cultivation resources, it had reached its limit. It was too difficult to break through to the Reincarnation Tribulation realm. This Snow Sky Wolf Demon King now shouldered the mission of the continuation of its entire race. It only wanted to break through the floating dragon country's blockade of the Great Snow Mountain. Unfortunately, they had done too much evil in the floating dragon country and fed on dragon martial artists. The floating dragon country would not let them off. The path of survival was either you die or I die. Soon, Kong Shinmu's opponent was only a Snow Sky Wolf Demon King. The other Snow Sky Wolf demons that surrounded Jiang Shenwu were all smashed into pieces by the Void Dragon Sky-raising smash condensed from the devouring Nirvana energy. None of the Snow Sky Wolf demons could withstand a single blow from Kong Shinmu. Moreover, when these wolf demons died, their life force would be devoured by Jiang Shenwu, causing Jiang Shenwu's strength to grow stronger and stronger. Moreover, with the surrounding attacks, Jiang Shenwu's ice and snow resistance became incomparably terrifying. This Snow Sky Wolf demon tribe basically had no way of harming Jiang Shenwu. Even the Demon King couldn't hurt Jiang Shenwu at all, even if he used all kinds of methods. This was the power of devouring Nirvana force. The devouring power brought about by the Black Dragon's consciousness allowed Jiang Shenwu to truly become invincible among his peers. He could even defeat opponents who were several realms above him. As long as he did not die, the opponent would be. Not long, the Snow Wolf Demon King, Demon Spirit Mountain, would be dead. It really didn't have much energy to waste, because the resources in the Snow Mountain were too little, so it couldn't last long. Seeing that Jiang Shenwu was still as lively as ever, the Snow Sky Wolf Demon King could only choose to retreat. It wanted to escape. Unfortunately, when it wanted to run, Jiang Shenwu used the extreme Shadow Flowing Lights dragon martial skill and quickly chased after it. Furthermore, he used the profound dragon-seeking shadow technique to closely track the opponent's aura. Finally, after crossing two snowy mountains, Kong Shinmu killed the Snow Sky Wolf Demon King. Looking back, Ran was still at ease. Kong Shinmu did not hesitate. He went forward to help and killed all the Saint-level Snow Sky Wolf demons. These Saint demons did not retreat even if they died. But under the protection of these Saint demons, some of the weaker or younger Snow Sky Wolf demons fled for their lives. Knowing that the Demon King was dead, the Snow Sky Wolf demon tribe did not dare to fight with Kong Shinmu and Ran. They only wanted to preserve their fire seed and let their bloodline continue. Kong Shinmu did not chase after the escaping Snow Sky Wolf demon tribe. Because there were too many of them and they were scattered in all directions. No one could find them if they went under the snowy mountains. Although they would starve to death if they stayed under the snowy mountains, Kong Shinmu did not have the time to kill so many Snow Sky Wolf demons. He had obtained a Demon King's Demon Core and 8 Demon Cores of Saint Demons. These 9 Demon Cores could prove that Kong Shinmu had defeated the entire Snow Sky Wolf demon tribe. Moreover, these 9 Demon Cores were spoils of war. He did not need to hand them over. They could be used as proof. Jiang Shenwu sighed with emotion as he looked at the snow all over the ground that had been dyed bright red. The scene of the Holy Fae risking their lives to protect the other Wolf Fae's escape made him feel rather emotional. Even though these snow sky wolf demons were enemies who killed dragon martial artists and ate them as food, their sacrificial spirit was still moving. Before Ran Ran left, she kept looking back. Unfortunately, they soon left the snowy mountains. Kong Shinmu thought that Ran Ran's background seemed to be related to the snowy mountains. She had lived under the snow for many years, and it was under the snow that she had cultivated the dark dragon filth controlling skill. Otherwise, she would not have been able to survive until now. Of course, when Kong Shinmu brought Ran Ran and the 9 demon cores that were still stained with blood back to the floating dragon country's dragon martial army camp outside the Great Snowy Mountains, everyone was shocked. The 2 of them had killed the Demon King and 8 Saint Demons in a short period of time. The Snow Sky Wolf demons were very cunning. They had carried out many operations before, but they had not been able to destroy the Snow Sky Wolf demon tribe. At most, they had only killed some of the weaker Snow Sky Wolf demons. But now, Kong Shinmu and Ran Ran had returned with the Demon King and all the demon cores of the Saint Demons. Without a doubt, the Snow Sky Wolf demon tribe had been destroyed. The Dragon Martial Army could deal with the remaining ordinary Snow Sky Wolf demons. Originally, due to the existence of the Demon King and Saint Demons, the Dragon Martial Army could not act separately. Once the other party found an opportunity to attack them one by one, the losses would be too great. But now that the Demon King and Saint Demons were dead, the ordinary Dragon Martial Army could go after the remaining Snow Sky Wolf demons. Immediately after, the floating dragon country's Dragon Martial Army issued an order to hunt down the Snow Sky Wolf demon tribe and gave them many rewards. As for Kong Shinmu, he returned to Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy with the 9 demon cores as spoils of war. 9 spoils of war monster cores were very precious resources to Zhang Shenwu. If he were to swallow these monster cores at a critical moment, he would be able to instantly recover. Although he had already cultivated the dark dragon filth controlling skill, there was still a process to recover. However, devouring the demon cores to recover did not require any process. It could directly restore Kong Shinmu to his peak state. As for using it for cultivation, it was not of much use. Kong Shinmu put away the 9 demon cores and went to collect the experience points rewarded for this mission. The experience points rewarded for this mission were already quite a lot. After all, it was a mission that only students in the Yuhing district could receive. But for Kong Shinmu's needs, it was still too little. Chapter 4306. High-grade origin skills were not that easy to obtain. Although Kong Shinmu and Ran Ran had obtained quite a few experience points from completing the tempering mission, equivalent to what Kong Shinmu would have obtained in 7 days. However, he was still far from being able to exchange for a high-grade origin dragon martial technique. If Kong Shinmu maintained his efficiency in completing the tempering mission, he would need about 6 months before he could exchange for a high-grade origin dragon martial technique. This was already quite efficient. After all, his tempering mission this time was to exterminate the Snow Sky Wolf demonic race in the floating dragon country. Normal Dragon Martial Academy students would not dare to go. Even if they did, they would form a team and not go alone like Kong Shinmu. If they formed a team of at least 10 people, even if all 10 of them completed the tempering mission, they would not be able to obtain many experience points. This kind of efficiency could be said to be unique to Kong Shinmu. However, the only problem was that this kind of tempering mission that suited Kong Shinmu and allowed him to complete it efficiently was not very common. Kong Shinmu would not be so lucky every time and encounter this kind of tempering mission. Thus, 6 months was only a conservative estimate. If he really wanted to exchange for a high-grade origin dragon martial technique, he would probably need at least half a year, or even a year. If I want to increase my speed, it seems like I can only go to the Beast Abyss. Kong Shinmu frowned slightly. In the Beast Abyss, one could kill all kinds of demonic beasts to obtain their demonic cores and exchange them for experience points. There were also some natural treasures that could be used to exchange for experience points. However, the Beast Abyss was very dangerous. On one hand, there were many powerful demonic beasts, and on the other hand, there was competition from the other Dragon Martial Academy students. Putting aside the other Draconic Martial Academies, even his own Draconic Martial Academy might make a move at some point in time. In any case, the situation in the Beast Abyss was quite complicated. With Kong Shinmu's current strength, he might not be able to protect himself if he entered. What was worth mentioning was that every Dragon Martial Academy student could only enter the Beast Abyss a limited number of times. Every student could only enter once a month. If every student encountered danger in the Beast Abyss, they could use their respective academy's transportation formation to teleport back to the academy. For example, Donghuang Yonggu Academy had the Eastern Emperor formation, and Emperor Shi Dragon Martial Academy had the Emperor Shi formation. When teleporting to the Beast Abyss, everyone would have a formation imprint appear on their wrist. This imprint would immediately teleport the student back to the academy. There would often be students who would return to the academy with heavy injuries. Those who returned were injured during the competition at the Beast Abyss. If every student could only enter the Beast Abyss once a month, Jiang Xinwu would like to go and take a look. After all, his safety was guaranteed. However, they had to pay a certain amount of experience points to enter. Moreover, the amount of experience points needed to be paid was not small. If Jiang Xinwu wanted to enter once, he would have used up all the experience points he had gained from exterminating the Snow Sky Wolf Demon Clan. Kong Xinmu thought about it. Although he was not very strong, he should be able to protect himself if he went to a more complicated place. Should he try it out? Kong Xinmu thought about it. Although he was not very strong, it should not be a problem for him to stay alive if he went to a more complicated place, right? Should he give it a try? After Kong Xinmu separated from Ran Ran, he went back and thought about it for the whole night. In the end, he decided to give it a try at the Beast Abyss. It was not a big deal to lose the experience points he had earned from one trip. More importantly, there might be better opportunities in the Beast Abyss to earn more experience points. Especially for a dragon martial artist like Kong Xinmu who could challenge those of a higher level, it was the best battlefield. If his cultivation level was higher, the demonic beasts would run away when they saw him, and it would be more difficult for him to kill them. However, his cultivation level seemed to be very low. This would make the demonic beasts look down on him and attack him. In this way, the possibility of Kong Xinmu killing them would be very high. Anyway, it was not suitable for Ran Ran to go to the Beast Abyss. Kong Xinmu decided to go and see the situation first. The experience points she had obtained this time were not a small amount for Ran Ran. She used 1/3 of the experience points to exchange for a lot of natural treasures for cultivation. She planned to raise her cultivation level again. In addition, her main problem now was that her defensive dragon martial technique was not up to par. She planned to complete some simple experience missions and accumulate some experience points. Then, she would exchange them for a body-refining dragon martial skill. Similar to Kong Xinmu's chaotic dragon body. That's right, she was also planning to cultivate a body-refining dragon martial technique. Although her innate ability was not as strong as Jiang Xinwu's devouring power, she already had a high-grade origin source dragon martial technique, the Dark Dragon Imperial Filth technique. If she were to combine it with a body-refining dragon martial technique, she would at least be able to maintain an invincible position. Although her destructive power was slightly lower now, she could rely on her super recovery ability to drag out some strong existences until they died. After all, the power of a dragon martial artist and demonic beast was limited. If they continued to fight, the final winner would definitely be Ran Ran. Of course, Ran Ran also had to cultivate some stronger body-refining dragon martial techniques. Otherwise, if the other party wanted to run when they were exhausted, she would not be able to catch up. The improvement of a dragon martial artist's strength was definitely not achieved in one step. It was a process. It was not easy to take care of all aspects. Ran Ran could only work on her defense to ensure that she did not die. Kong Xinmu was simpler. His devouring power was not only useful for defense, but it also had a strange offensive ability. Kong Xinmu was looking forward to devouring the power of Nirvana, which would eventually transform into devouring the power of Samsara. This power would probably become even more terrifying. The Samsara realm was still a little far away from him. The problem now was that as long as he had enough experience points, he could quickly increase his cultivation level and strength. Yuheng District is the real beginning of Dragon Martial Academy. Kong Xinmu sighed. After making his decision, he headed to the Emperor Shi formation. After making his choice on the Experience Stone Tablet, he could directly pass through the Emperor Shi formation and obtain the Emperor Shi seal, then head to the Beast Abyss. He did not tell anyone that he would head to the Beast Abyss, and he did not meet any other students along the way. After a flash of white light, the power of the Emperor Shi formation took him through the void, instantly heading to an extremely distant place. This place might not even be on the Dragon Martial continent. Chapter 4307. When Jiang Shenwu appeared in the middle of the towering forest, he immediately looked around with a nervous expression. After all, this was his first time in the Beast Abyss. Kong Shinmu did not know what kind of existence there was, and whether he would encounter a very powerful beast. However, he soon realized that he was worrying too much. As he appeared, a rustling sound came from the surrounding forest. It seemed that many small animals or beasts were fleeing in all directions. They all felt Kong Shinmu's aura, so they did not hesitate to flee. For these small animals and small demonic beasts, Jiang Shenwu's aura was no different from that of a god of death. They were too weak, and if they encountered any dragon martial artist who was qualified to come to the Beast Abyss, only death awaited them. They had no power to resist. In reality, the Dragon Warrior students would not kill these small things so casually. This was because killing these small beasts did not give any experience points, so naturally no one would bother. Of course, this did not exclude the possibility that some bored and cruel Dragon Warrior students or other beasts would come to this area and raise their butcher knives against these small beasts. Therefore, out of vigilance, when they sensed Jiang Shenwu's aura, they immediately hid themselves. Kong Shinmu was also very careful. He appeared in the forest, and after sensing the aura of the small things around him, he heaved a sigh of relief. This at least meant that there should not be any powerful existence nearby. After all, if there were powerful beasts, then these small things would not have been so relaxed before he arrived. This made Kong Shinmu temporarily relax. He took a deep breath and discovered that the air in this forest seemed to be filled with endless spiritual energy. The density of the spiritual energy was at least double that of the outside world. Even if he only cultivated here, his cultivation level would increase twice as fast as it would in the outside world. Towering ancient forest? When Kong Shinmu raised his head to look at the sky, he discovered that in the sky among the white clouds, there were these words faintly visible. It seemed that this meant that he was currently in the towering ancient forest. There are words in the sky. What does this mean? Kong Shinmu's expression changed and his brows furrowed. The entire Beast Abyss was for the students of the Dragon Martial Academy to train. This meant that it was a joint effort of the 4 Dragon Martial Academy's supreme dragons. There might not be anyone monitoring the entire Beast Abyss, but it was very likely that it was no longer within the territory of the Martial Dragon continent. That was because it was said that it was impossible for other dragon martial artists to enter this place. It was a place specially set up. From this, it could be seen that this place was very likely to be in existence independent of the Martial Dragon continent. The 4 ancient words that appeared in the sky should be a hint of their location. It said that when students are teleported to the Beast Abyss, they will not appear in a specific location, but at random. That's why there are signs in the sky. Kong Shinmu thought about it and did not dwell on it too much. In any case, it was impossible for him to fly to the sky to see what was going on with those 4 ancient words. In this towering ancient forest, no one knew if there were any powerful demonic beasts. If he flew out of the ancient forest and into the sky, he might provoke some undefeatable beings. He carefully walked through the towering ancient forest. Before he came, he had looked at some of the students' experiences in the Beast Abyss, so he had some understanding. In the Beast Abyss, there were some places with natural treasures. Students could absorb them themselves or exchange them for experience points. In short, the appearance of natural treasures was one of the students' main rewards. Usually, natural treasures would be guarded by some powerful demonic beasts. If they could kill that demonic beast, the natural treasures would belong to the students, and the rewards would definitely be great. Even if they could not kill it, with a team, some of them could restrain the demonic beast while others went to collect the natural treasures. In any case, the entire Beast Abyss was very big, and there were many natural treasures. Even if the students kept collecting them, there would still be a large portion left. After all, only the Dragon Martial Academy students could enter the Beast Abyss, and there were only a few hundred of them. In that case, the possibility of meeting other students in the Beast Abyss is not high. Most of the time, it was a battle of wits and courage between students and demonic beasts. Kong Shinmu walked forward slowly. He did not have a goal now, so he could only take it one step at a time. Furthermore, he could not transform into a divine dragon and move around. After all, that would cause too much of a commotion, and he would be easily discovered by some terrifying beings. It seems like it's morning in the Beast Abyss now, about the same time as in the Dragon Martial Continent. Kong Shinmu estimated, but did not pay much attention to it. He walked forward slightly, his movements extremely gentle, and there was no movement. "Little guy, are you still there?" Kong Shinmu whispered. He realized that many small demonic beasts did not even notice his existence. As long as he was in the shadow of the ancient forest, he seemed to be invisible. This surprised him a little, so he guessed that the nightmare-ink beast had followed him. Kong Shinmu's whisper did not cause any commotion, but there was a slight change in his shadow, which let him know that the nightmare-ink beast had really followed him. He was instantly filled with confidence. With the nightmare-ink beast around, a place like the towering ancient forest was like his backyard. Because of the nightmare-ink beast's assistance, Kong Shinmu could also conceal himself in the shadows. Although he could not completely conceal himself, he could still reduce his aura to the minimum. So now that Kong Shinmu was moving slowly, even when small demonic beasts walked in front of him, they did not notice his existence. In this state of concealment, Kong Shinmu's advantage was too great. Not bad. Kong Shinmu felt very comfortable. He stretched out his hand, and casually grabbed a small demonic beast that looked like a squirrel. This fellow was instantly shocked when it was grabbed by the neck. It squeaked twice and struggled. Kong Shinmu casually let it go and continued forward. The towering ancient forest was filled with giant trees that required dozens of people to encircle. There were many shadows, so Kong Shinmu's ability to conceal himself was very strong. After walking for a long time, Kong Shinmu did not find any large demonic beasts, nor did he find any traces of natural treasures. He could not help but feel a little depressed. But to want to reap a harvest so quickly, it was indeed not so easy. He slowly moved forward, and gradually, he seemed to have entered the depths of the towering ancient forest. The surrounding tree trunks became thicker and thicker, and the environment became more and more serene. Chapter 4308. When he reached the depths of the towering ancient forest, Kong Shinmu knew that he had reached a more dangerous place. In the beast abyss, danger also meant gain, but it could also mean that all his previous efforts would be wasted. At a critical moment, Emperor Shi's formation could take him away instantly. But this also meant that he would gain nothing and waste a considerable amount of experience points. Moreover, he could not enter the beast abyss again this month, which was equivalent to a huge blow to his cultivation process. As he continued to go deeper into the towering ancient forest, he became more and more cautious. Although he walked in the shadows, the presence of the nightmare-ink beast made his aura almost undetectable. But when he walked, the sound he made was difficult to conceal. If someone had a slightly sensitive sense of hearing, they would still be able to detect his approach. Jiang Shenwu could only try his best to move forward as quietly as possible. He followed the path where there were no thorns, all the way until he reached the depths of the towering ancient forest. When he raised his head, he could no longer see the four ancient characters in the sky. Kong Shinmu did not pay too much attention to it. He listened to the beast roars coming from ahead. While he was somewhat on guard, he also faintly looked forward to it. He sensed that it seemed to be the aura of a demon king. Moreover, it was a powerful demon king that had already stepped into the reincarnation tribulation realm. Such an existence must be guarding a very good treasure. It is said that the demonic beasts in the beast abyss are all individuals, not groups. If there is only one demon king that has just stepped into the reincarnation tribulation realm, then I might still be able to deal with it, but I need to prepare in advance. Kong Shinmu's chaotic dragon body and devouring nirvana power allowed him to defeat the strong even though he was weak. The key was to find out the actual situation of the demon king. Now that he was too far away, he could not hear clearly just by listening. He could only wait until he got closer to take a closer look. He could not relax during this process. If he was discovered in advance, it was very likely that Kong Shinmu would have to face an even more vigilant demon king, which would definitely be more difficult to deal with. However, as Kong Shinmu continued to get closer, he quickly discovered that the demon king did not seem to be roaring randomly. Instead, it seemed to be fighting. The other party was in the midst of an intense battle. As the beast roared, Kong Shinmu sensed that the sounds of the battle ahead were getting more and more intense. Kong Shinmu narrowed his eyes. This situation was absolutely good news for him. Perhaps he could pick up a bargain. The demon king was in an intense battle. Whether it was fighting with other dragon warrior students or other demonic beasts, Kong Shinmu might be able to take the opportunity to gain some benefits. While his opponent was still fighting, Kong Shinmu quickened his footwork. In any case, With the help of the nightmare ink beast, his aura in the shadows was close to non-existent. Very few existences could discover his presence. Even if there was someone with a strong sense of hearing, they wouldn't be able to tell what was approaching. It was most likely just some small demonic beasts. Without any hesitation, Kong Shinmu quickly moved forward and soon stopped beside a shadow. When he stopped, his heart almost stopped beating, because he discovered that what appeared in front of him in this towering ancient forest was actually a very deep abyss. At the bottom of the abyss was a bottomless cold pond. The Demon King's roar was coming from the cold pond. It's the Demon King under the water. Kong Shinmu's expression changed slightly. After a dragon warrior transformed into a dragon, they all had the ability to fight underwater. But if they fought underwater, unless they were a dragon warrior with water attribute talent, their battle strength would be somewhat reduced. If it was said that he was able to defeat the Demon King, he might not be the opponent under the water. And most importantly, he discovered that the other party was fighting under the cold pond. He couldn't see the battle clearly at all. If he rashly entered, it was very likely that he would be attacked by both parties. But he was not willing to give up this opportunity. He gritted his teeth and temporarily prepared in the shadow of the giant tree beside the cold pond. He planned to be the mantis stalking the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. No matter who was fighting fiercely with the Demon King under the cold pond, he planned to appear after the battle was almost over and see if he could snatch something. If the Dragon Warrior students won, he would be able to leave immediately after going down. He didn't want to fight with other students for heaven and earth treasures. If he became enemies, it wouldn't be good for him in the future. Anyway, he didn't lack heaven and earth treasures. Soon, as he listened, he discovered that the situation seemed to be very favorable to him. The Demon King he was most concerned about seemed to be the roar of a snake Demon King. This kind of Demon King was extremely powerful under the water and wasn't easy to deal with. But the good news was that the Demon King's roar was getting weaker and weaker, as if it had suffered a very serious injury. More importantly, Kong Shinmu also heard the roars of other demon beasts coming from the bottom of the cold pond. He couldn't tell what kind, but there was definitely more than one. It seems that there are many other demon beasts attacking the Snake Demon King together. Kong Shinmu narrowed his eyes and thought. He had been waiting in the shadow of the shore above the cold pond. The two parties fighting fiercely in the cold pond didn't notice Kong Shinmu's arrival. They were fighting at the bottom of the cold pond, so much so that even the water of the cold pond was dyed blood red. The sounds of the fierce battle below were getting quieter and quieter. It seemed that all the nearby demon beasts had come over to participate in this fierce battle. There were no other demon beasts within a radius of tens of miles. Otherwise, Kong Shinmu would have sensed the other party's aura long ago. In other words, now was the best time for Kong Shinmu to take advantage of the situation. The sounds of the fierce battle at the bottom of the cold pond finally dissipated very quickly. The roars of the demon beasts also quickly quieted down. The battle seemed to have ended just like that. The cold pond was dyed with blood and looked extremely terrifying. But Kong Shinmu felt that there seemed to be a treasure emitting rich heaven and earth spiritual chi under the cold pond. The demon beasts were probably fighting because of that treasure. It's time to take action. I'll leave after I snatch the treasure. Kong Shinmu made up his mind. He finally transformed into a dragon at this moment and rushed towards the bottom of the cold pond. The dragon martial technique, extreme shadow flowing light, burst out. In an instant, it rushed into the cold pond and seemed to have alarmed the powerful existence in the cold pond. A roar of a demon beast came out from the bottom of the cold pond. The blood water of the whole cold pond was stirred up. But Kong Shinmu didn't have any hesitation. The 4,000 to 5,000 feet long black dragon suddenly rushed into the cold pond. He saw that in the deep blood water of the cold pond, there were many corpses of demon beasts. In the middle of those corpses, there was an incomparably huge scaled snake. Its body was covered with wounds. When Kong Shinmu came down, it attacked him. Chapter 4309. After entering the frigid pond, Kong Shinmu roughly understood what was going on at the bottom of the frigid pond. Many demonic beasts were already corpses, killed by the snake. The frigid pond was originally the territory of the demonic king snake. At the bottom of the frigid pond, Kong Shinmu found a plant that looked like a seaweed, emitting extremely dense heaven and earth spiritual chi. This was what the demonic king snake was guarding. Once the plant matured, the snake would be able to swallow it and try to break through to the next realm. Now that the plant was about to mature, it attracted the covetous eyes of other demonic beasts, which led to the battle just now. The demonic king snake won the battle, but it was also heavily injured. Under such circumstances, the sudden appearance of Kong Shin-mu made the snake feel as if it was facing a formidable enemy. Although it was a first-stage rebirth state demonic king, it was still alert when it saw Kong Shin-mu ambushing it. It attacked Kong Shin-mu in its heavily injured state. This is a mirage snake. Kong Shin-mu looked at the snake and thought. The mirage snake was a powerful demonic beast that could release illusions. It could use illusions to disrupt the opponent's senses in battle. Even when facing the heavily injured demonic king snake, Kong Shin-mu did not let his guard down. After all, the opponent was a rebirth state demonic king snake and could use the power of samsara. The power of samsara was a level higher than the power of nirvana. It would definitely be stronger, and there might even be some fundamental changes. This was the first time Kong Shin-mu fought against a rebirth state demonic king. Although it was heavily injured, he still did not dare to be careless. Martial Dragon Shield. When the mirage snake attacked Kong Shin-mu immediately used his dragon defense technique. Although it was only a second-grade dragon martial technique, his chaotic dragon body had already reached the earth tier, so the dragon defense technique did not affect him much. Even without using the dragon defense technique, Kong Shin-mu was confident that he could withstand the attack. The martial dragon divine shield was better than nothing. The sea serpent's attack swept toward Kong Shin-mu like a thunderstorm, which instantly shrouded Kong Shin-mu's body and shattered the martial dragon shield into pieces. Following that, boundless water elemental energy came from all directions, wrapping around Kong Shin-mu tightly. A terrifying destructive force enveloped his divine dragon body. In an instant, Kong Shin-mu was heavily injured. The other party's samsara power seemed to have a corrosive effect, causing the scales on Kong Shin-mu's divine dragon body to be burned. Dark Dragon Filth Control. Boundless pain came from all over his body, but Kong Shin-mu immediately executed this high-grade origin dragon martial technique. His powerful recovery ability burst forth immediately, and his injuries began to heal. However, the attack from the Demon King Mirage Snake was too fierce, and the terrifying corrosive effect almost offset Kong Shin-mu's recovery speed and the speed at which he was being corroded. No wonder those demonic beasts were corroded beyond recognition. It turns out that it's a high-intensity corrosive force. Although Kong Shin-mu was in pain all over his body, the more he was in this state, the more clear-headed he was. His nirvana devouring force spread to the surroundings in an instant, directly eroding some of the surrounding aquatic plants, and began to devour the life energy essence of those plants. There were many corpses of demonic beasts in the field, but the life energy essence of the corpses had all been drained. Otherwise, they wouldn't have died. Therefore, Kong Shin-mu could only devour the aquatic plants to ensure his recovery. Of course, at the same time, the Demon King Mirage Snake was already seriously injured, and black blood flowed from its body. Kong Shin-mu did not stand on ceremony and directly eroded the nirvana devouring force into its body, and began to devour wantonly. In an instant, the two parties met face to face. Kong Shin-mu was seriously injured. This situation made the Demon King Mirage Snake somewhat relieved. After all, Kong Shin-mu was seriously injured by it in one move. This meant that it would only need to attack a few more times, and Kong Shin-mu would be killed by it. Now, in its opinion, Kong Shin-mu seemed to be much easier to deal with in the group of demonic beasts that targeted it previously. At least, Kong Shin-mu did not seem to have any offensive ability. The Demon King Mirage Snake roared, and its terrifying power continued to envelop and sweep towards Kong Shin-mu. If it were a student from the Yuhing district, he would probably have died in the hands of this Demon King Mirage Snake. However, Kong Shin-mu stubbornly survived. Moreover, after being attacked twice in a row, the injuries of Kong Shin-mu's divine dragon body did not worsen. This was because the Dark Dragon Filth controlling skill was rapidly healing his injuries, and his nirvana devouring force had already begun to devour the life energy and flesh essence in the Mirage Snake's body. This allowed Kong Shin-mu's seriously injured divine dragon body to double its recovery. In such a state, Kong Shin-mu's injuries did not worsen, but the Mirage Snake, which was already seriously injured, became a little uncomfortable. It launched two full-force attacks, consuming what little energy it had left. In addition, its body was corroded by Kong Shinmu's nirvana devouring force, and the loss of its vitality made it feel that something was wrong. Obviously, the Demon King Mirage Snake felt that something was wrong. It retreated quickly, and its pair of snake eyes stared at Kong Shinmu. Logically, it should be able to kill this little dragon martial artist in 2 moves. But now, this dragon martial artist's vitality seemed to be recovering rapidly. Its samsara corrosion force did not seem to have a good effect on Kong Shinmu. If it were other Nirvana realm existences, they would not be able to resist its samsara corrosion force at all. Even if they were attacked once, they would be directly corroded to death. But now, Kong Shinmu did not show any signs of becoming weaker. Instead, it seemed to be getting weaker. What the hell was going on? The Demon King Mirage Snake could not understand what was going on with this little dragon martial artist in front of it. Why couldn't it expel the power that was corroding its body? It was as if all its strength had been absorbed. It must end the battle quickly. The Demon King Mirage Snake felt that something was wrong. It immediately mobilized all its strength and exploded. Countless long black shadows condensed in the cold pool water, and then quickly swept towards Kong Shinmu's divine dragon body. These long black shadows were like venomous snakes that moved alone in the dark, invading Kong Shinmu's divine dragon body from all directions. The terrifying corrosive force began to explode in Kong Shinmu's internal organs. However, after the Demon King Mirage Snake used this move, all its strength was almost exhausted. Its entire body, which was hundreds of feet long, shrank to the side of the heaven and earth treasure at the bottom of the cold pool, and stared at Kong Shinmu with extreme vigilance. If this move could not kill Kong Shinmu, then it was very likely to be in danger. Chapter 43:10. The Mirage Snake King was dumbfounded. The corrosive and destructive power of that move just now was much stronger and more terrifying than its first and second moves. However, the impact on Kong Shinmu seemed to be less than its previous 2 attacks. What the hell was going on? The Mirage Snake King was puzzled. It had never seen such a situation in its life. It was incredible. Of course, it did not know that its first 2 attacks had increased Kong Shinmu's resistance to the corrosive force to a certain extent. Its third attack was basically no longer a threat to Kong Shinmu. Kong Shinmu's nirvana devouring force had already eroded into the Mirage Snake King's body and erupted with an unparalleled devouring force, absorbing the remaining flesh and blood essence into Kong Shinmu's body. Kong Shinmu's condition was getting better and better. However, the Mirage Snake King found that the situation had become very bad. It seemed that the closer it was to Kong Shinmu, the stronger the devouring force was, causing its life force to deplete faster and faster. It wanted to run. The Mirage Snake King still had a strong desire to live. It turned around and fled immediately. Although it was very unwilling to let someone take away the heaven and earth treasure that it had guarded for several years, it was ultimately not as important as its life. As long as it could survive, anything was possible. However, if it lost its life, it would lose everything. Without any hesitation, the Mirage Snake King turned around and fled. It instantly flew out of the cold pool and flew higher. Kong Shinmu wanted to chase after it, but if he did, he would likely expose himself. It would be terrible if other powerful beasts were attracted. Therefore, Kong Shinmu did not chase after it. Instead, he took advantage of the quiet surroundings to go forward and directly put away the heaven and earth treasure. Although it was not fully mature, it was not a problem for Kong Shinmu to wait for 2 or 3 days. Even if it was only 90% of the effect when it was fully mature, Kong Shinmu could still use the devouring force to completely absorb it. The efficiency was several times higher than the beasts and other dragon martial artists. Therefore, it did not matter if it was not fully mature. He swiftly plucked the herb, and then glanced at the corpses of the demon beasts. There seems to be a demonic core in the corpse of the demonic beast. Kong Shinmu suddenly discovered this point and couldn't help but be delighted in his heart. The demonic beast's demonic core was extremely useful to him. Even if he did not use it, he could bring it back to the Dragon Martial Academy and exchange it for experience points. Of course, only the beast cores of the demonic beasts in the Beast Abyss could be exchanged for experience points at the Dragon Martial Academy. Monster cores obtained through other means could not be exchanged. There are a total of 6 demonic beasts that died in the hands of the demonic king Mirage Snake. Each of them is a demon king at the peak of the Nirvana Tribulation realm. All of them died in the hands of the Mirage Snake. How strong was that thing at its peak? Kong Shin-mu felt a little lucky. If he had encountered the Mirage Serpent King at its peak, he might not have been able to defeat it. He had really picked up a big bargain today. Looks like there are indeed many fortuitous encounters in the Beast Abyss. Although today's situation is definitely rare, it's equivalent to working hard in the outside world for a month or two if I encounter it once. Kong Shin-mu quickly took away the 6 demonic beasts' demonic cores. Kong Shin-mu also dealt with the corpses of the 6 demonic beasts. Some of the parts of the demonic beasts' corpses could be used to forge high-grade dragon weapons. He could also exchange them for experience points when he brought them back. Kong Shin-mu roughly estimated the value of the 6 demonic beasts, and felt that he had struck it rich this time. This trip was worth it. Kong Shin-mu knew that he had struck it rich. The 6 demonic beasts' corpses were relatively intact. Only a few parts had been corroded. The parts that needed to be used to forge dragon weapons were very sturdy and could not be easily corroded. The value of each demonic beast's corpse was comparable to the experience points he had obtained from exterminating the Snow Wolf demonic beast tribe. In fact, it was even more than that. Including the heavenly treasure, Kong Shin-mu's harvest this time was equivalent to what he had obtained in the past 3 months. That was under the condition that he often went on suitable missions. It might even be more than that. The main reason was that the heavenly treasure contained too much spiritual chi of heaven and earth. If he were to exchange for this heavenly treasure at Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy, he would have to work hard for at least 2 months. Kong Shin-mu quickly dealt with the demonic beasts' corpses at the bottom of the cold lake. After about 5 minutes, he quickly left the cold lake that reeked of blood. At this moment, he suddenly had an idea. The Demon King Mirage snake that had escaped seemed to be getting weaker. It was mainly because of the devouring power in its body. Kong Shin-mu could sense its exact location and condition. Although the devouring effect weakened when he was far away, the Demon King Mirage snake was already seriously injured and had absorbed a lot of its flesh and blood essence. Even if it wanted to escape, it would not be able to go far. Kong Shin-mu sensed that the Demon King Mirage snake seemed to have landed in a towering ancient forest not far away and was dying. Let's go and take a look. If I can get the demonic core of a demon king in the reincarnation tribulation realm, my harvest this time will be even greater. This is equivalent to working outside for half a year. Kong Shin-mu was looking forward to it. He quickly flew in the direction of the aura of the devouring power. Soon, he smelled a very strong smell of blood coming from the dense forest ahead. He did not let his guard down. After returning to his human form, he slowly approached the place where the smell of blood was coming from with the help of the magic ink beast. Soon, he hid behind the shadow of a large tree and carefully peeked out. He found the Demon King Mirage snake lying limply in the dense forest, looking like it was dying. However, there were no other small demonic beasts that dared to approach it. After all, the aura of the Demon King was still very obvious. Some of the weaker demonic beasts did not dare to approach it at all. However, Kong Shin-mu looked at the limp mirage snake in the dense forest and frowned slightly. This mirage snake looked like it was dying, but in fact, it seemed to still have the strength to fight. This kind of demonic beast was very scary when it fought with its life on the brink of death. Kong Shin-mu did not want to take the risk at all. He hid at the side and sensed the devouring power in the mirage snake's body. He slowly used the devouring power to devour the essence of its life. The mirage snake seemed to know that it was going to die. It simply pretended to be dying and wanted to give Kong Shin-mu one last blow. Unfortunately, Kong Shin-mu did not go near it at all. The devouring power continuously devoured the vitality of the other party, causing the mirage snake to become weaker and weaker. This made it instantly furious and it flew into the distance. It could have escaped originally, but now that Kong Shin-mu had devoured some of its vitality, it could not even fly properly. Seeing this, Kong Shin-mu could not be bothered to hide anymore. He directly transformed into a dragon and chased after it. Devouring power. Void Dragon Sky-Piercing Strike. Chapter 43:11. This Demon King Mirage Snake was rather vigilant and cunning. It was a pity that Kong Shin-mu did not fall for it. Otherwise, even if he managed to kill the Mirage Snake, he would probably be heavily injured. As the Demon King Mirage Snake's life faded away, it fell into the towering ancient forest. Kong Shin-mu went forward and quickly took out the Demon King Mirage Snake's demon core. Then, He sliced off all the scales on the Demon King's body. The snake scales were materials for forging defensive dragon weapons, and the quality was rather good. After all, it was a part of the Demon King's body, and its defense was extremely strong. Including this Demon King Mirage snake, my harvest this time is really comparable to working outside for half a year. Kong Shinmu could not help but sigh. If he was lucky enough, he might have such an opportunity in the outside world. However, there were too many dragon martial artists outside. Even if there was such an opportunity, it was very likely that many experts would come to snatch it. It would not be easy for Kong Shinmu to obtain these things. This is a great harvest. Not only did I get so many essence materials from the demon corpses, but I also got that heaven and earth treasure. Kong Shinmu did not know what the heaven and earth treasure was called. After all, it was a plant that grew in the water. It was normal that he did not know. However, he could feel the rich heaven and earth spirit chi in it. After absorbing the heaven and earth spirit chi, I'm not far from the 6th level of the Nirvana Tribulation Realm. Kong Shinmu was a little excited. Of course, it was still far from reaching the 6th level of the Nirvana Tribulation Realm with just this heaven and earth treasure. He did not plan to leave the Beast Abyss just like that. There were many opportunities in this place. Since he had entered once, he was not in a hurry to leave. He put away the heaven and earth treasure so that no one would find it. He also put away the other things. However, there were too many things, and he did not know how to take them away. He could exchange for a belt for storage in the Dragon Martial Academy, but that would require a lot of experience points. Kong Shinmu did not have such things on him now. He could only use the Demon King Mirage snakeskin to make a rough snakeskin bag and put all the materials in it. There were a lot of things on his back, and he looked as conspicuous as a small mountain. However, the spirit chi of that heaven and earth treasure did not leak. After all, the snakeskin of the Demon King Clam Serpent had a good defense and aura isolation effect. Kong Shinmu carried the snakeskin bag and began to move deeper into the towering ancient forest. Although he had the help of the flying ink beast, he was carrying a large snakeskin bag. It was not easy to hide the flying ink serpent's aura. Wherever he went, the small demonic beasts and some small animals scattered in all directions. None of them dared to stay near him. But Kong Shinmu didn't care. Next, he just wanted to see if he could find any new opportunities. If he encountered danger, he could just leave. In any case, he had already gained a lot from this trip. The towering ancient forest was extremely vast. As Kong Shinmu ventured deeper into the towering ancient forest, he sensed that the air around him was getting heavier and heavier. It was as if there were many powerful existences in the vicinity. He even saw footprints left behind by some powerful demonic beasts that were dozens of feet long. This demonic beast is at least at the level of a demon king. Moreover, it must be at the reincarnation tribulation realm. Kong Shinmu observed the row of footprints and was alarmed. If he were to fight such a demonic beast head-on, he might really be killed in one move. The difference in strength was too great. If he encountered it, it was best to escape first. He carefully moved deeper into the towering ancient forest. When night fell, he had no intention of resting. Instead, he moved even faster. This was because this dense forest had lost all light and was plunged into darkness. This made Kong Shinmu, who had the cover of the flying ink beast, extremely blurry. He was like an invisible shadow that shuttled silently through the forest. Oh! In the middle of the night, Kong Shinmu suddenly stopped in his tracks. He seemed to hear the sounds of fighting in front of him. If there was a fight, it meant that there was a chance. The big bag of good stuff that Kong Shinmu was carrying on his back was because the Demon King Mirage Snake had experienced an intense battle and was seriously injured. Otherwise, it would not have been taken advantage of by Kong Shinmu. He slowly moved in the direction of the fighting sounds. He could hear the sounds of fighting becoming clearer and clearer. It was obvious that the other party was getting closer and closer to him. Soon, he arrived at the top of a small hill. The ground in the towering ancient forest was not flat. There were small hills one after another. Kong Shinmu was now on one of the hills. Looking ahead, he could clearly see that in the sky ahead, there were a few dragon martial artists flying in the form of dragons. They were actually besieging a soaring serpent demonic beast that was thousands of feet long. The soaring serpent was a snake-type demonic beast that could fly as soon as it was born. It had a pair of fleshy wings on its body like a giant python. The soaring serpent in front of him was thousands of feet long. It's a demon emperor. Kong Shinmu's heart skipped a beat. He hurriedly hid himself even more. The existence of a demon emperor was not something that he could deal with at the moment. Although the sky was dark, there was still some fire attribute energy flying in the air. With the help of the fire, Kong Shinmu could see that the dragon martial artists besieging the soaring serpent were actually powerhouses of the Dragon Emperor level. I can't see who they are. They should be Dragon Emperor powerhouses from the Dragon Martial Institution, right? They're definitely not just from the Yuhing district. They should at least be students from the Migres district. Kong Shinmu began to observe carefully. He took a closer look and realized that there were a total of 4 Dragon Emperor powerhouses. They should be students from the Dragon Martial Institution who were besieging the Demon Emperor. The Demon Emperor was not the only Demon Emperor in the towering ancient forest, but it was definitely one of the more powerful ones. None of the demonic beasts in the sky dared to participate in such an intense battle. It was obvious that the Demon Emperor was much more powerful than the other demonic beasts around. Otherwise, some demonic beasts would definitely appear to help the Soaring Serpent Demon Emperor. Now that the Soaring Serpent Demon Emperor was fighting alone, it meant that the other demonic beasts would not even be cannon fodder if they were involved in the battle. Kong Shinmu did not appear rashly. In the night, he could not see which of the 4 Dragon Emperor powerhouses were from the Dragon Martial Institution. He could only watch the battle continue. Among the 4 Dragon Emperor powerhouses, one of them was the Nether Fire Divine Dragon. He seemed to be the leader. The fire attribute dragon martial technique that he unleashed danced in the sky, illuminating the night sky with a chilling intent. It was the Nether Fire Divine Dragon. Chapter 43:12. Other than the Earthly Fire Divine Dragon, the other 3 Divine Dragons were the Rocky Destiny Dragon, the 9 Revolutions Extreme Ice Dragon, and the Starry Sky Tyrant Dragon. These 3 Divine Dragon Blood Essences were the top-notch Divine Dragon Blood Essences that Kong Shinmu had seen in some records. These 4 dragon martial artists were probably top-notch sky dragons when they first awakened. After absorbing some of the Dragon Mark's energy, they reached the level of Dragon King. Now they are all Dragon Emperor. Moreover, they seem to be at the 2nd or 3rd tier of the rebirth tribulation state. As for that Demon Emperor Soaring Snake, it seems to be at the 4th tier of the rebirth tribulation state. Kong Shinmu quickly distinguished the strength levels of the 2 sides and realized that this battle was indeed not one that he could participate in. He did not intend to intervene, but watching the battle between the Dragon Emperor and the Demon Emperor was beneficial to him. Therefore, he did not leave and planned to gain some battle experience. Perhaps, his opponent in the future would be one of the 4 students of the Dragon Emperor Academy. Kong Shinmu did not forget that he had been ostracized and targeted by Dean Zhou Xiaofeng at Donghuang Yonggu College. If there was a chance in the future, he would definitely make the other party suffer. The fierce battle continued until dawn. Kong Shinmu did not leave. He squatted on top of a big tree on the hill for the whole night. The battle between the Dragon Emperor and the Demon Emperor did not end the whole night. Even now, it was still getting more and more intense. Neither side could break the other's defense. But it could be seen that the Demon Emperor Soaring Snake was gradually at a disadvantage. It was basically defending passively and did not take the initiative to attack. And the 4 Dragon Emperor experts were attacking more and more frequently. They seemed to be anxious and wanted to kill the Demon Emperor Soaring Snake. They seemed to be anxious? Because of what? Kong Shinmu did not quite understand. But at this moment, the Demon Emperor Soaring Snake suddenly burst out. The Soaring Serpent Demon Emperor had been suppressed all this while. However, at this moment, the Soaring Serpent Demon Emperor released a dark green mist that erupted into the surrounding sky. The Demon Emperor Soaring Serpent was a demonic beast with a poison attribute. Its main attribute was wood, and wood contained poison. The attack of this kind of demonic beast was usually hard to guard against. When it suddenly went berserk, the 4 Dragon Emperor powerhouses did not expect it. They were initially very cautious, but for some reason, they were a little anxious just now, which allowed the Soaring Serpent Demon Emperor to find an opening. Among them, the 9 Revolutions Extreme Ice Dragon's ice barrier was broken by the dark green poisonous gas and shattered. The originally snow-white Divine Dragon's body suddenly turned dark green. It was in trouble. Originally, their defense was quite tight, but as soon as they revealed a flaw, one of them was immediately hit. Be careful. A loud roar came from one of the mystical dragons, and the 4 mystical dragons retreated immediately. Among them, the Starry Skies Tyrannosaurus dragon grabbed the Poison 9 Revolutions Extreme Ice Dragon and ran the fastest, looking extremely anxious. The 4 mystical dragons fled in 3 different directions. At this moment, Kong Shinmu realized that another demon sovereign had appeared in the distant sky. It was an enormous creature that swept over like a black cloud. It was a pitch-black old soaring serpent. The old soaring serpent looked like a demon king, but its cultivation had already reached the pinnacle of the rebirth tribulation realm. The 9th tier of the rebirth tribulation realm. At such a level, even if it was just a demon king, it was not something that the few Dragon Emperor students who had just entered the rebirth tribulation realm could fight against. The Black Demon King soaring serpent, which was hundreds of feet long, flew over and let out a tearing roar. Then, it chased after the Nether Fire Divine Dragon. The sky quickly returned to peace. The figures of the Dragon Emperor and the Demon King disappeared into the clouds in the extremely distant sky. Only a Demon King soaring serpent, which seemed to be slightly injured, was left in the field. It landed in a valley and seemed to be hiding. Kong Shinmu did not act rashly. After a while, he realized that the Boulder Mandate Dragon seemed to be unwilling to give up and had returned. It appeared in the clouds above, looking for the traces of the Demon King's soaring serpent, and chased after it. The Nether Fire Divine Dragon lured the Demon King's soaring serpent away. The 9 Revolutions Extreme Ice Dragon was poisoned and should be treated by the Starry Skies Tyrannosaurus Dragon. Only the Boulder Mandate Dragon has the time to come back. Kong Shinmu thought to himself as he slowly followed. Of course, he followed very slowly and cautiously, so it was impossible for the other party to discover him. The other party directly transformed into a dragon and chased after him. It was difficult for Kong Shinmu to not keep up with the Boulder Mandate Dragon that was thousands of feet long. Anyway, the other party was searching for the traces of the Demon King's soaring serpent, so its flying speed was relatively slow. Even if Kong Shinmu did not transform into a dragon, he could still keep up with the other party's pace. When it was almost noon, Kong Shinmu discovered that the Boulder Mandate Dragon had stopped and was slowly approaching the valley where the Demon King soaring serpent was resting. The Boulder Mandate Dragon had discovered the injured Demon King soaring serpent. Kong Shinmu's heart skipped a beat. He knew that if he wanted any benefits, this was about the time. The Demon King soaring serpent should be injured, but Kong Shinmu did not dare to rashly attack it since it was at the 4th level of the Reincarnation Tribulation Realm. Soon, the sounds of a fierce battle broke out in the valley. The Boulder Mandate Dragon seemed to have cultivated a body-tempering dragon-type martial technique. Coupled with its Boulder Mandate Dragon's innate power, its defensive ability was extremely terrifying and almost flawless. No one of the same level could break through the defense of the Boulder Mandate Dragon unless its power was exhausted. However, it seemed that the Boulder Mandate Dragon still had a lot of power left, and it was still far from exhausting its power. Do I have to wait for them to fight until both sides are injured and then take advantage of them? Kong Shinmu felt a little excited at the thought of it. I'm too lucky, aren't I? He was carrying a snakeskin bag on his back, and it was very likely that there would be Boulder Mandate Dragon spoils ahead. He was a little embarrassed to collect them. The Boulder Mandate Dragon is dealing with the Demon King soaring serpent alone. Although the Demon King soaring serpent is injured, I'm afraid it won't be that easy. The Boulder Mandate Dragon was at the 3rd level of the Reincarnation Tribulation Realm. It was 1 level lower than the Demon King soaring serpent, and the gap was still quite large. Even if the other party was injured, it would not be that easy to deal with. Kong Shinmu sensed the fierce battle in the valley and slowly approached. Due to the aura of the Demon King soaring serpent on his back, some of the surrounding small demonic beasts, including some weaker sky demons and sacred demons, did not dare to get too close to Kong Shinmu. Soon, Kong Shinmu arrived at the cliff next to the valley where the fierce battle was taking place. Looking down, he found that the Demon King soaring serpent and the Boulder Mandate Dragon were already fighting fiercely. Both sides were already fighting hand to hand, and the power in their bodies seemed to be almost exhausted. Kong Shinmu was a little excited. However, at this moment, 2 dragon roars suddenly sounded from the cliff opposite him. There were others. Kong Shinmu's expression changed slightly. Chapter 43:13. While Kong Shinmu was hiding at the side, 2 dragon roars suddenly came from the opposite cliff. He looked in the direction of the sound and saw two divine dragons of the same Dragon Emperor level flying down from the opposite cliff, attacking the Demon Emperor Soaring Snake and the Boulder Mandate Dragon below. Northern Wilderness students. Rocky Fate Dragon was already seriously injured, and his strength was almost depleted. But at this time, the two dragon martial artists turned into mystical dragons and swept down, causing Rocky Fate Dragon to roar. Northern Wilderness students. From the roar of Rocky Fate Dragon, Kong Shinmu realized that the two Dragon Emperor level powerhouses that suddenly flew out were students of the Northern Wilderness Dragon Martial Academy. As for which faction the Rocky Fate Dragon belonged to, Jiang Shenwu had no idea. After all, he had not seen the Rocky Fate Dragon revert to his human form, so he had no idea which faction the Dragon Martial Academy's mark belonged to. In any case, the Northern Wilderness Dragon Martial Academy had nothing to do with Kong Shinmu. Kong Shinmu narrowed his eyes and watched the two Dragon Emperor level mystical dragons fly down. One attacked Rocky Fate Dragon, and the other attacked the Demon Emperor Soaring Serpent. Both of them had the power of fire attributes. Flames instantly spread and engulfed the entire valley. Even the place where Kong Shinmu was hiding was covered in flames. In the forest, the power of the flames announced the arrival of death. After the flames spread, Kong Shinmu could not see what was going on in the valley. But if Kong Shinmu was involved in the battle between the Dragon Emperor and the Demon Emperor, he would not have a good ending. Although the Rocky Fate Dragon and the Demon Emperor Soaring Serpent had exhausted their strength at the beginning, the two dragon martial artists were in peak condition. One could imagine that the Rocky Fate Dragon and the Demon Emperor Soaring Serpent would likely join forces to fight against each other. Otherwise, they would all be in danger. Of course, the Rocky Fate Dragon could use the mark on its wrist to teleport back to the Dragon Martial Academy. However, once the demonic Emperor Soaring Serpent's life was in danger, it would truly die. Moreover, the Rocky Fate Dragon would not be willing to be chased out of the Beast Abyss just like that. After all, the experience points needed to enter the Beast Abyss were not a small number. Kong Shinmu didn't dare to barge into the battlefield. But soon, he felt as if there was a figure flying towards his hiding place. Perhaps they were fleeing, or perhaps they had discovered his hiding place and attacked him directly. It was impossible for Kong Shinmu to stay where he was, but he did not panic. He carefully moved to the side. Soon, he realized that his opponent's route hadn't changed. He should be running. Who could it be? Is it the Demon Emperor Soaring Serpent or the Boulder Destiny Dragon? Kong Shinmu thought. If it was the demonic Sovereign Soaring Serpent, Jiang Shenwu might really make a move in the situation where the entire valley was engulfed in flames. He might be able to kill it in one go and claim the biggest reward this time. That was a Demon Emperor. A Demon Emperor and a Demon King were two completely different concepts. The value of a Demon Core was at least 10 times different. In addition, the Demon Emperor Soaring Serpent's wings were excellent materials for forging dragon weapons. If it was the Boulder Destiny Dragon that escaped, Kong Shinmu didn't plan to make a move. Because attacking a student wouldn't bring him any benefits, and he wouldn't be able to kill the other party. The other party could escape at any time. At most, he would have to force the other party away during a fair competition. But sneak attacks were meaningless. Kong Shinmu hid at the side, paying attention to who was running towards him. Anyway, it couldn't be those two students from the Northern Desolate Dragon Martial Academy, right? Those two guys should be the Oriole in the end when they raided the valley. It was impossible for them to escape so quickly. Soon, the other party was getting closer. Kong Shinmu felt an incomparably heavy aura coming from the front, which made his heart skip a beat. It's the Boulder Destiny Dragon. Kong Shinmu secretly felt that it was a pity. If it was the Demon Emperor Soaring Serpent, it would be great. Unfortunately, Jiang Shenwu quickly retreated backward and hid behind the trunk of a big tree. The snakeskin bag behind him was also hidden. Although there was an aura emitting from it, the Rocky Fate Dragon, who was on the run, should not provoke a Demon King at this time. Normally, a Dragon Sovereign powerhouse would probably be able to kill a Demon King in a few moves. But at this moment, the Boulder Destiny Dragon was seriously injured, and there were people chasing after him. Once he was restrained by the Demon King, he would probably be finished. Then, Kong Shinmu saw the Boulder Destiny Dragon flying past the bushes in front of him, his body stained with endless blood. The originally heavy khaki-colored dragon body was now covered with blood. His blood dripped along the way into the dense forest, and then quickly flew away. Kong Shin-mu felt the dripping blood and suddenly thought of a possibility. If he devoured this guy's blood that contained the Boulder Destiny Dragon's power, could he disguise himself as it? He didn't act rashly. He carefully sensed the aura around him and found that no one was chasing after him. That's right. Those two Northern Desolate Dragon Academy students must be targeting the Demon Emperor Soaring Serpent. Since the Boulder Destiny Dragon wants to run, they won't abandon the Demon Emperor Soaring Serpent to chase after us. Kong Shin-mu felt that the fierce battle in the valley was getting more and more intense. It was as if the Demon Emperor Soaring Serpent was facing the siege of the two Northern Desolate Dragon Academy students alone, and had begun to fight with his life on the line. This made Kong Shin-mu's heart boil. He quickly moved forward and quietly covered the Boulder Destiny Dragon's blood with the Nirvana Devouring Force. Devour! Jiang Shenwu's devouring Nirvana Force instantly devoured the power within the blood and made it his own. Furthermore, that power directly covered his body. Disguise, it works! If Kong Shin-mu could disguise himself as that guy's aura, he might be able to do something in this situation where the sky was filled with flames. Even if he snatched the spoils of war from the Demon Emperor Soaring Serpent, he wouldn't expose Kong Shin-mu himself. The Boulder Destiny Dragon probably had no choice but to take the blame for this. Kong Shin-mu had once wondered if the Nirvana Devouring Force could disguise himself. Now that the other party's blood was flowing all the way, he tried it and found that it actually worked. Devour. Disguise. The Black Dragon's consciousness is terrifyingly powerful. Kong Shin-mu couldn't help but think. However, in this situation, for the sake of his own improvement, he couldn't care less about this. He needed more Boulder Destiny Dragon's blood to completely disguise himself as the other party's aura and appearance. By covering himself with the aura, he could let others feel the aura of the Boulder Destiny Dragon. In a situation where the flames covered the sky and the scene couldn't be seen clearly, almost no one could see through this disguise. Of course, if the other party could see clearly with the naked eye, this disguise wouldn't be of much use. The main thing was that the Boulder Destiny Dragon was a dragon emperor. After transforming into a dragon, his body was thousands of feet long. After all, Kong Shin-mu was just a dragon king. The difference in size was too big. Chapter 43:14. Kong Shin-mu transformed into a divine dragon. While devouring the Rocky Fate Dragon's divine dragon blood, he quickly chased in the direction he fled. Because the divine dragon's blood that was left in the forest was not enough for him to complete a complete disguise. He had to follow the traces of the other party's escape and devour all the blood left behind. This process was likely to be discovered by the other party. After all, Kong Shin-mu had to devour the divine dragon's blood that had not dried up. Otherwise, the effect would not be so strong. This required Kong Shin-mu to follow closely. Under such circumstances, once Kong Shin-mu gave himself away, the other party was likely to discover him. As for the consequences, Kong Shin-mu did not know. He could not be bothered to think about it. Anyway, he had to devour all the traces left by the other party first. He flew all the way and soon flew out of the range of the valley. As he devoured the Rocky Fate Dragon's blood along the way, Kong Shin-mu's aura became more and more similar to the other party. However, he had already chased out of the range of the valley. Fortunately, that guy fled in the sky. All the blood that flowed out fell on the ground. I'll devour his blood on the ground, and he won't be able to discover me. Kong Shin-mu was very careful along the way. With the help of the Nightmare Ink Beast, his aura was well hidden. Even now, when he needed it, the aura wrapped in the snakeskin on his back was hidden. When the other party flew in the sky, it could not sense Kong Shin-mu's existence at all. This made Kong Shin-mu's actions very fast. He devoured the other party's blood as fast as he could and chased for dozens of miles. Finally, he felt that his body was filled with the aura of the Rocky Fate Dragon. Done! Without any hesitation, Kong Shin-mu turned and headed back in the direction of the valley. From afar, he saw a plume of smoke rising from the valley and flames soaring into the sky. It seems that the battle is getting more and more intense. The Demon Emperor Soaring Snake's desperate resistance is definitely not that simple. Kong Shin-mu thought to himself as he quickly passed through the dense forest below and approached the valley. For the Rocky Fate Dragon, Kong Shin-mu, and other dragon warriors, a distance of dozens of miles could be covered in a moment. Kong Shin-mu chased after him, devoured the blood, and flew back in less than 10 minutes. The valley was still in chaos. The two fire-type Dragon Emperor students had already burned everything that could be burned in the valley. The Demon Emperor Soaring Snake's roar could be heard dozens of miles away. Unfortunately, the powerful Demon King Soaring Snake, which was close to the peak of the Samsara Tribulation Realm, had already been lured away by the Dragon Warrior students. No one knew where he had gone, and he had yet to return. Kong Shin-Mu transformed into a black dragon and flew into the thick smoke of the valley, blending into it in no time. Amidst the flames and thick smoke, it was impossible to see Kong Shin-Mu's black dragon form with the naked eye. He could only sense his aura with the perception unique to dragon practitioners. However, what he sensed was the aura of the Rocky Fate dragon. After Kong Shin-Mu flew into the valley, he didn't stop at all. He flew straight in the direction of the three powerful auras. Now the Demon Emperor Soaring Snake should be dead. I'll take the opportunity to take its demon core. As for the other materials for forging dragon weapons, I can't care about them now. Kong Shin-Mu was very clear about his goal, and his thoughts were clear. After all, he had limited time. The two Dragon Emperor students from the Northern Desolate Dragon Martial Academy would not give him too much time to do anything. Once they discovered him, they would definitely attack him together. Once Kong Shin-Mu fought with them, they would definitely realize that his aura was fake. Therefore, he couldn't fight them. Under such circumstances, Kong Shin-Mu could only end the battle quickly. He would get what he wanted and run away. And the demon core on the Demon Emperor Soaring Snake was obviously the most valuable. Kong Shin-Mu flew toward the center of the battlefield. He could already hear the dying hisses of the Demon Emperor Soaring Snake. However, the battle was still very noisy. One could imagine that the Demon Emperor Soaring Snake was still struggling. It's a pity that the poison of the Nightmare Ink Beast is useless against the Demon Emperor and the Dragon Emperor. Otherwise it would be easier. Kong Shin-Mu felt that it was a pity. He flew forward quickly. At that moment, the Demon Emperor Soaring Snake let out a mournful cry, followed by the sound of a heavy object falling to the ground. The entire valley trembled heavily. The Demon Emperor Soaring Snake weighed hundreds of thousands of kilograms. When it fell, it was like a small mountain falling to the ground, crashing down. It's time to act. Kong Shin-Mu could even hear the conversation between the two Dragon Emperor students from the Northern Desolate Dragon Martial Academy. When Kong Shin-Mu got close to the Demon Emperor Soaring Snake and sensed that the Demon Emperor Soaring Snake's corpse was right in front of him, he suddenly released his aura, letting it spread out instantly. Of course, he released the aura of the Boulder Destiny Dragon. When he released his energy, he charged straight ahead. His devouring power exploded instantly. Using the Void Dragon Sky Raising Break's Origin Dragon Martial technique, he condensed 6 pitch-black light beams and blasted them at the mountain-like figure that appeared in front of him. With a loud bang, the Demon Emperor Soaring Snake's corpse was blasted with 6 bloody holes by Kong Shin-Mu. The devouring power instantly corroded the corpse. Someone's there. It's the Boulder Destiny Dragon. Amidst the flames and thick smoke, the two Northern Desolate Dragon Martial Academy students immediately roared in anger and swept towards where Kong Shin-Mu was. Unfortunately, when Kong Shin-Mu blasted through the Demon Emperor Soaring Snake's corpse, he accurately found the location of the demon core with his devouring power. Then, he took it away in one fell swoop. When the two Dragon Emperor students rushed over, Kong Shin-Mu had already obtained the Demon Emperor Soaring Snake's demon core and quickly retreated out of the valley. After his successful attack, he used the Obsidian Ink Beast to conceal his aura. Even though the other party was prepared, they could still vaguely sense the aura of the Boulder Destiny Dragon and quickly caught up. After all, the Obsidian Ink Beast's concealment ability was not omnipotent and could not fool everyone. However, the two Dragon Emperor students from the Northern Desolate Dragon Martial Academy were not chasing in the direction that Kong Shin-Mu escaped, but in the direction that Kong Shin-Mu had left behind a pool of blood. That pool of blood was the blood of the Boulder Destiny Dragon that he had devoured. The direction that Kong Shin-Mu escaped in was completely the opposite direction. Great Harvest! Kong Shin-Mu heard the movement behind him getting further and further away, but he did not let his guard down. Although he was a little excited, he was not out of danger yet. There were many Dragon Martial Academy students nearby, and he might encounter Dragon Martial Academy students from other academies as soon as he left the valley. Could it be that I have to make a trip back first? Kong Shin-Mu thought carefully as he escaped from the valley. Just as he was about to leave the thick smoke, He suddenly heard the sound of wind whistling in front of him. The dragon roar seemed to be not far away. There's someone else. It's better to be safe and go back first. The harvest this time is big enough. When Kong Shinmu heard the dragon roar in front of him, he did not hesitate and directly activated Emperor Shi's seal on his wrist. Chapter 43:15. When Kong Shinmu appeared at Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy, he felt cold sweat all over his body. The previous operation was really too dangerous. It was so dangerous that the students of the Dragon Emperor Academy might have discovered his identity if he had been just a little bit more. If that had happened, even if he could escape from the Beast Abyss this time, the next time he entered the Beast Abyss, he would very likely become the target of everyone. No matter what, he did not expose his identity this time, and he even obtained a large number of treasures, especially the demon core of the Demon Emperor Soaring Serpent. The harvest was too great. This was almost equivalent to the harvest that Kong Shinmu could obtain if he continued doing experiential missions for a year. Such a harvest was really worthy of the intense competition in the Beast Abyss. Of course, Kong Shinmu knew that his luck was very good this time. Under normal circumstances, even if a dragon martial artist student who was stronger than him entered the Beast Abyss, it would be impossible for him to obtain such a great harvest. The harvest this time is 2 high-grade demon cores, 1 demon king, and 1 demon emperor. There is also a treasure at the bottom of the water, which is enough for me to step into the 5th tier of the Nirvana Tribulation realm. There were also some other demonic beast materials that could be used to forge dragon weapons. Added together, it saved him at least a year of hard work. This result was undoubtedly gratifying. Moreover, he had only entered the Beast Abyss for a few days. Kong Shinmu looked around. There was no one around the Emperor Shi formation. He heaved a sigh of relief and immediately went to exchange for experience points. Kong Shinmu did not have much use for the high-grade demon cores now, so he did not have much need for them. Therefore, he exchanged them for experience points. To be honest, the instructor at the exchange for experience points was really shocked when he saw that Kong Shinmu could take out so many demon cores. However, he was sure that these 2 high-grade demon cores, as well as the saint-level demon cores, were obtained by Kong Shinmu from the Beast Abyss. In addition, Kong Shinmu also exchanged all the materials used to forge dragon weapons for experience points. So many experience points. It is still not enough to exchange for a high-grade origin dragon martial technique. Not bad, I can exchange for a heaven-level dragon weapon first. A dragon weapon could significantly increase the combat power of a dragon warrior. Kong Shinmu only had 1 heavenly saint halberd before, and he had not used it recently, mainly because there was no need to use it. He carried the Heavenly Saint's halberd with him so that he could use it at crucial moments, but he had never encountered a situation where he needed to use it. Sometimes, even if he used the Heavenly Saint halberd, he would still be unable to defeat the other party. Sometimes, there was no need to use the Heavenly Sage halberd at all. But if Kong Shinmu had a heaven-class dragon weapon, then the situation would be different. A heaven-grade dragon weapon could increase a dragon martialist's combat prowess by a lot more than a dragon-grade dragon weapon. It could even be said that it was several times better. I'll go pick a heaven-ranked dragon weapon first, then go into seclusion and prepare to break through to the 6th level of the Nirvana Tribulation realm. By the time these 2 matters were settled, Kong Shinmu's combat power would increase by several folds. At that time, he wouldn't need to take his time to deal with the Mirage Serpent King Demon King when he encountered it again. Instead, he could use the force of lightning and directly suppress the other party. However, I still have to be careful when facing opponents at the level of the Demon Emperor and Dragon Emperor. The main reason was that ordinary Dragon Emperor and Demon Emperor's cultivation level was relatively high, and most of them were already at the Samsara realm. Under the double suppression of the blood essence grade and cultivation level, Kong Shinmu really had no way to deal with them. However, the improvement of his strength definitely needed to be done step by step, so Kong Shinmu didn't need to be anxious. In any case, if he exchanged for a heaven-class dragon weapon, his foundation would already be very good. At that time, he only needed to raise his cultivation level. First, I'll raise my cultivation level to the peak of the 9th level of the Nirvana Tribulation realm. Then, I'll consider the problem of the Divine Dragon Blood Essence grade. Kong Shinmu thought about it and felt that he still had to consider the grade of the Divine Dragon Blood Essence. Although this thing couldn't increase his strength by too much in a short period of time, Once he broke through the shackles and reached the level of the Dragon Emperor, the increase would be great. The key was that he still needed to devour more Dragon Mark energy to upgrade Ran. Even when he returned to the Yen Dragon Emperor's court, he still had to upgrade Jiang Liu Xue, Shi Yueying, and Shi Yutong. For Kong Xin Mu, this bit of Dragon Mark energy was nothing. But it could save them decades of effort. In the outside world, treasures with Dragon Mark energy were too rare. In the entire Yen Dragon Emperor's court, there were very few of them. Even the Dragon Emperor and Dragon King needed to fight for such treasures. How could juniors like Jiang Liu Xue and the others have the chance to fight for them? So if there was a chance, Kong Xin Mu would still think of them and wanted to help them. After all, they were his friends in the Yen Dragon Emperor's court. Kong Xin Mu began to choose the Heaven-class dragon weapon at the Experience Point Exchange Office. The types of Heaven-class dragon weapons were mainly divided into offensive, defensive, and auxiliary types. Every dragon weapon had both offensive and defensive abilities. For example, the Heavenly Sacred Halberd could transform into the Heavenly Sacred Halberd to attack the opponent, or it could transform into the pure power of the dragon weapon for defense. The Heavenly Sacred Halberd's offensive ability was stronger, so it would be more effective to use it to attack dragon skills. But some defensive dragon weapons had stronger defensive abilities, so it would be more effective to use it to defend against dragon skills. Kong Xin Mu, of course, did not need a defensive dragon weapon. His current defensive ability, after practicing a variety of body-refining dragon weapons, was already strong enough. There was no need for any other methods to supplement it. But in terms of offensive ability, Kong Xin Mu mainly relied on devouring talent power to deal with his opponents. Exchanging for a strong offensive dragon weapon would not increase his strength much. He only wanted to practice a high-level source dragon weapon to make up for his lack of offensive ability. As for the dragon weapon, there was no need for it. If that's the case, I can exchange for an auxiliary dragon weapon. Kong Xin Mu was slightly looking forward to it. An auxiliary dragon weapon, or it could be called a special dragon weapon, usually had a variety of functions, and even a variety of effects, suitable for a variety of very complicated situations. For example, some dragon weapons could increase the speed of a dragon martial artist, some special dragon weapons could increase the recovery ability of a dragon martial artist, and some special dragon weapons could assist the cultivation of a dragon martial artist, allowing the cultivation speed of a dragon martial artist. There were even some special dragon weapons that came with a storage space. It was very difficult to forge a special dragon weapon, mainly because forging a special dragon weapon with powerful effects required extremely high forging skills. It required at least hundreds of different formations to be attached to the dragon weapon. Kong Xin Mu began to choose at the exchange office. There were many things in Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy. Compared to Donghuang Yonggu College, there was not much difference. He did not know who made these dragon weapons. In any case, in the outside world, there were very few special dragon weapons. Chapter 43:16. Kong Xin Mu looked at the various types of special dragon weapons in front of him and felt a little dazzled. There were too many types. The blacksmiths who could forge such special dragon weapons must be the top blacksmiths in the entire Dragon Martial Continent, and it was very likely that they did not live in the Dragon Martial Continent. After all, the Dragon Martial Continent was only a place used by the Supreme Divine Dragons to cultivate Super Divine Dragons. Kong Xin Mu saw many types of special dragon weapons, such as those that increase defense, and also those that increase the speed of dragon warriors. In addition, there were also those that increased the speed of cultivation. Kong Xin Mu thought about it. What he lacked the most right now was still cultivation level. Therefore, he still planned to choose from the special dragon weapons that increase the speed of cultivation. Among these dragon weapons, there were those that increased the absorption of natural spiritual energy by dragon warriors, those that increased the efficiency of cultivators absorbing natural treasures, and even those that increased the speed of absorption of dragon mark energy. If it was an ordinary dragon warrior student who came to choose, they would definitely be very conflicted, because to choose a dragon weapon that was suitable for them, they had to look at their own situation. Some dragon warriors rarely exchanged for natural treasures to absorb and cultivate, and relied on natural spiritual energy to absorb and cultivate. There were also some dragon warriors who, for the sake of cultivation efficiency, exchanged for natural treasures to absorb and improve their cultivation. If they wanted to exchange for a dragon weapon, they would need different types. For Jiang Shenwu, it didn't matter whether it was the natural world's spiritual energy absorption or the absorption efficiency of natural treasures, they weren't of much use. After all, he had the innate ability of devouring, and absorbing natural treasures was 100% absorption, which was more effective than any other dragon weapon. As for natural spiritual energy absorption for cultivation, the efficiency was not high, and the speed was too slow. No matter how much he increased the efficiency, it was better than nothing for Kong Shinmu. What I really need is this. Kong Shinmu suddenly saw a special dragon weapon, and his eyes could not help but light up. This was a jade dragon weapon, carved with countless mysterious patterns and lines, and several mysterious innate abilities lingered on it, showing its excellence and extraordinariness. In front of this jade pendant, there was a stone tablet, indicating that it belonged to the rank of heaven-level dragon weapon. There were 3 types of effects. The first was to increase the speed of consolidation after one's cultivation, which was known as strength coordination. This effect allowed people to quickly grasp the power of their cultivation realm and unleash the strength that their cultivation realm should have. Most people didn't need this kind of effect. After all, for many people, the speed of their cultivation realms wasn't that fast. Most of the time, they had enough time to consolidate the power of the new realm. But for Kong Shinmu, it could save him a lot of time. This was because the coordination of power not only affected the degree of control of power after a cultivator's cultivation realm increased, but it also affected the discomfort brought about by the sharp increase in power after a dragon martial artist's divine dragon blood essence increased in grade. In the past, after Kong Shinmu's divine dragon blood essence had been upgraded, it had taken him a long time to be able to coordinate and control his strongest power. This would take at least a few months. To be honest, even the current Kong Shinmu did not have complete control over his power. Sometimes, when he used the dragon martial skill, he felt that it was not particularly coordinated. This caused him to only be able to exert about 90% of his combat power. This was because his cultivation realm and the grade of the divine dragon blood essence had both increased too quickly, causing his strength coordination to not be able to keep up. The effect of this dragon weapon jade pendant was very useful to Kong Shinmu. Only a genius dragon martial artist like him would need to use a dragon weapon with this effect. Similarly, Donghuang Yonggu College's Yu Tianchong and even the Emperor of Qin were at this level. Their cultivation realms and the quality of the divine dragon blood essence would increase very quickly. Only these top geniuses could make use of this effect. The second effect of this dragon weapon jade pendant was to have a small storage space. This storage space was thousands of feet long and wide. It was extremely wide and could even contain the corpse of a dragon emperor expert. If Kong Shinmu had this thing before, it would be much more convenient to move around in the beast abyss. This effect had no effect on increasing one's combat power or cultivation speed. But the most important thing was the third effect of this dragon weapon jade pendant. It was this third effect that made this dragon weapon jade pendant named Dragon Scar Blood Pendant. The first effect of the Dragon Scar Blood Pendant was to increase the strength coordination of a dragon martial artist. The second effect was to have a storage space. The third and most important effect was also the reason why it was rated as a heaven-level dragon weapon. Everyone knew that dragon weapons could be used actively. Kong Shinmu's heavenly sacred halberd could transform into various forms. It could become the heavenly sacred halberd to attack the opponent, or even transform into the pure power of a dragon weapon. It could be used together with an offensive or defensive dragon martial skill. And this Dragon Scar Blood Pendant could also be used actively. It could transform into the power of the Dragon Scar Blood. When this power was attached to the body of a dragon martial artist, it could stimulate the dragon martial artist's divine dragon blood essence. Whether it was an expert at the level of the Dragon King or the Dragon Emperor, after a dragon martial artist was attached with the power of the Dragon Scar Blood, the strength of their talent, Nirvana Force and Samsara Force would be doubled. This would cause the divine dragon blood essence in the dragon martial artist's body to boil, and through several times the consumption, it would provide double the battle strength. Most importantly, the power of the dragon scar blood could not only be used for battle, but also for cultivation. After attaching the power of the dragon scar blood, the speed at which a dragon martial artist absorbed the dragon scar energy would increase by several times. The multiplier of the increase was uncertain. Different dragon martial artists would have different effects when using it. But to Kong Shinmu, it could be said to be a hidden weapon. Originally, his devouring power could devour the dragon scar energy dozens of times faster than others. It was just that he couldn't show it normally, otherwise it would be too shocking. Now that he had this dragon scar blood pendant, he could brazenly and quickly devour the dragon scar energy. In any case, no one knew how high his talent was. After using the dragon scar blood pendant, even if the speed at which he devoured the dragon scar energy increased by 10 times, it was still within an understandable range. Although it would attract some people's attention, it was not to the extent that it was unacceptable. In the past, there were some geniuses who, after attaching the power of the dragon scar blood, could also devour the dragon scar energy at 5 or 6 times the speed. For Kong Shinmu to do it 10 times was also within an acceptable range. Originally, he only dared to absorb the dragon scar energy at 3 times the speed of an ordinary person. But now, he could devour the dragon scar energy at 10 times the speed without worrying about his devouring power being exposed. Unfortunately, this effect is still too weak. If it was a little stronger, it would allow me to devour the dragon scar energy at 20 times the speed or even faster. That would be great. Chapter 43:17. Kong Shinmu almost immediately decided to exchange for the dragon scar blood pendant. Instructor Dragon Emperor smiled when he saw that Kong Shinmu was paying attention to the dragon scar blood pendant. He reminded him, this dragon scar blood pendant is useful for absorbing the energy of the dragon mark. However, you have to take note that the power of the dragon mark blood will damage the meridians of dragon practitioners. It is not suitable for long-term use. Kong Shinmu obviously knew about this side effect because it was explained on the stone tablet in front of him. However, Kong Shinmu directly ignored it. To him, healing injuries was a small matter. His current Dark Dragon Filth Mastery didn't even need to devour Yao cores to recover. He could just rely on the Dark Dragon Filth Mastery to heal his injuries. It was just that the effects were not as immediate as the power of devouring. Whether it was in battle or for cultivation, the healing effects of the Dark Dragon Filth Mastery were more than enough. I'll exchange for this one, Kong Shinmu said confidently. This dragon scar blood pendant could also increase his innate ability at a critical moment. One had to know that his innate ability was the power of devouring. If it was doubled, what would the effect be? Devouring the essence of any opponent's life, flesh, and blood would only take half the time. Moreover, the effect would be doubled. If he devoured a portion of the opponent's power, his divine dragon body would be immune to the opponent's attack of that attribute. One could imagine the effect of this in battle. Kong Shinmu's power of devouring, together with this dragon scar blood pendant, was simply the best partner. It's a pity that you don't have enough experience points. Instructor Dragon Emperor checked and couldn't help but shake his head with a smile. I'm still lacking quite a bit. Kong Shinmu was stunned. He looked at the price of this dragon scar blood pendant. Indeed, although this dragon scar blood pendant was powerful, the experience points needed to exchange for it were about 30% more than those ordinary heaven-grade dragon weapons. This meant that Kong Shinmu was currently lacking about 3 months' worth of experience points. And he had already used up this month's opportunity to enter the Beast Abyss. It was impossible for him to enter the Beast Abyss even if he wanted to. It seemed unlikely that he would be able to obtain this dragon scar blood pendant in a short period of time. Kong Shinmu could not help but feel a little regretful. If there was a place where he could borrow experience points, he would definitely do whatever it took to get it. Even if he had to pay back double, he would still be able to accept the conditions. This was because if he didn't get the dragon-marked blood pendant now, it was very likely that the next time he came, it would be exchanged for by someone else. Even if no one exchanged for the dragon scar blood pendant, it would still delay Kong Shinmu's cultivation for a long time. At the very least, he would have to wait until next month before going to the Beast Abyss again, and that would depend on his luck. This feeling was too unbearable. At this moment, a graceful figure suddenly flew into the hall of the palace where the experience points exchange office was located. She was dressed in red and had a tall figure. It was Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy's Yuheng District Xiaoyu Flower. Kong Shinmu had sparred with Xiaoyu Flower before, so he had some understanding of her battle prowess. She might not be stronger than him, but she was definitely not too weak. Moreover, she was not old and had just entered Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy not long ago. She was the kind of person with extremely high talent. Kong Shinmu thought for a moment. Should he borrow it from her? Hello. Xiaoyu Flower flew into the hall. When she saw Kong Shinmu, she was a little surprised. However, she still greeted him politely. She was naturally here to exchange for cultivation resources. Hello. Kong Shinmu said embarrassedly. He looked her up and down, wanting to say something but hesitating. Looking at Kong Shinmu's strange expression, Xiao Yu Flower was a little puzzled. Kong Shinmu, what's with your expression? She felt that Kong Shinmu was looking at her as if he was looking at a fool. She had a bad premonition. Ha! On the other hand, Mentor Dragon Emperor laughed. This middle-aged uncle looked very kind. He patted Kong Shinmu's head and said, "This kid wants to exchange for this dragon scar blood pendant. Unfortunately, he doesn't have enough experience points. He probably wants to borrow it from you, but he's too embarrassed." Kong Shinmu was indeed too embarrassed. This was because he knew very well that experience points were a very precious resource for any Dragon Martial Academy student. No matter who it was, they would rarely lend it to others. After all, experience points meant cultivation resources, which meant that they could increase their strength. To a large extent, experience points determined the speed of improvement of Dragon Martial Academy students. Even a month earlier or a month later would have a completely different concept. Indeed, Kong Shinmu was a little embarrassed. However, if you are willing to lend me these experience points, I can return them double. Return them double. These 4 words immediately stunned Mentor Dragon Emperor. Even Xiao Yu Flower had the same expression. Just how many experience points did Kong Shinmu lack, and how much he needed this dragon scar blood pendant? Xiao Yu Flower was a little speechless. She took a step forward and looked at the dragon scar blood pendant. Her heart couldn't help but tremble. The experience points needed to exchange for this dragon scar blood pendant was probably something she would have to spend a year to exchange for, and she was in a hurry. Kong Shinmu actually wanted to exchange for this thing? Moreover, to Xiao Yu Flower, the effect of this dragon scar blood pendant was too ordinary. The first effect was to increase strength coordination. This effect was too ordinary. Even dragon-grade weapons would have this effect. This kind of formation was relatively simple, but it basically didn't have much effect. The second effect was the storage space. This was useful, but especially forged storage dragon weapon wasn't worth much. She would probably be able to exchange for it in a month. As for the last effect, the power of the dragon scar blood pendant was too harmful to the body. If she used this method to absorb the energy of the dragon scar often, it would be no different from self-harm. However, if she didn't use it often, this kind of power would be too weak. As for the power outburst in battle, it was also under the premise of harming the body's meridians. Moreover, using it in battle would cause more damage to the body than using it for cultivation. Only such a lunatic would use this thing, right? Xiao Yu Flower couldn't help but shake her head. She recalled the time when she fought with Kong Shinmu. Kong Shinmu's recovery ability was indeed very strong. Moreover, Ran, who was with Kong Shinmu, also had a very strong recovery ability. It seemed that using the dragon scar blood pendant for cultivation and battle was still acceptable. However, the increase in cultivation speed was still uncertain. If Kong Shinmu took it and only doubled the speed of absorbing the energy of the dragon scar blood pendant, the effect would be too poor. Compared to the damage she would suffer, the gain simply didn't make up for the loss. How many experience points do you still need? When she asked this question, Xiao Yu Flower was still a little puzzled. After all, Kong Shinmu had just joined Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy not long ago, and he already wanted to exchange for a heaven-level dragon weapon. Could it be that this guy was short of more than half of the experience points? If that was the case, Xiao Yu Flower really had to consider whether Kong Shinmu was reliable or not. Even if she returned it in double, what if Kong Shinmu died outside? Chapter 43:18. Hearing Xiao Yuhua's question, Kong Shinmu was a little surprised. The other party's question clearly showed that he was tempted. If Xiao Yuhua could afford it, she might lend it to him. After all, the double return of experience points was very attractive to anyone. I'm not far from it. Kong Shinmu briefly explained his current situation. My luck in the Beast Abyss this time was pretty good. I've already obtained most of the experience points I need to exchange for the Dragon Stain Blood Pendant. I'm just short of a little. If he spent a little more time to obtain some experience points, he would be able to exchange for the Dragon Stain Blood Pendant. But Xiao Yuhua also knew the importance of experience points to students. 1 or 2 months earlier and 1 or 2 months later were completely different concepts. so she could understand Kong Shinmu's eagerness to exchange for the dragon-stained blood pendant. But hearing that Kong Shinmu had actually made a trip to the Beast Abyss in such a short time and had gained quite a lot, she couldn't remain calm. Wasn't this kid's luck a little too good? One had to know that the competition in the Beast Abyss was fierce. It wasn't that Xiao Yuhua hadn't been there before, but the 2 times she had been there, she had basically returned empty-handed. The only time she had gained something was when she had entered with the students from the Fekta region. She had been in charge of scouting for them and had been given many things. But even that time, her gains were far from what Kong Shinmu had gained this time. In fact, it was only a fraction of what Kong Shinmu had gained this time. This made Xiao Yuhua feel a little responsible. Kong Shinmu. This kid's luck was a little too good. Now that he was just short of this little bit of experience points to exchange for the dragon-stained blood pendant, Kong Shinmu would naturally be very eager to borrow some experience points. How do you plan on using the dragon-stained blood pendant? Xiao Yuhua thought for a while, then asked softly. If I were to return it double, it would probably take at least half a year for you to return it if you don't go to the Beast Abyss. I can't wait that long. She also needed experience points. If Kong Shinmu could promise her something tangible in return, then lending Kong Shinmu these experience points would not be a problem. Right now, she wanted to exchange for some heavenly treasures and absorb them to increase her strength. However, she was not very close to the breakthrough. She still needed a long period of consolidation. Therefore, if Kong Shinmu could pay it off within a month, she would consider it. Give me 2 months. Within 2 months, I'll pay you back double the experience points. Kong Shinmu also thought for a moment and said, if I don't pay it back in 2 months, then I'll pay you back 3 times in the next 2 months. So on and so forth. If I drag it out for too long, I'll definitely give you more points. I guarantee that you won't lose out. Hearing Kong Shinmu's words, Xiao Yuhua and Mentor Dragon Emperor were a little surprised. It was not easy to get so many experience points in 2 months. Moreover, this Kong Shinmu actually planned to return it 3 times. This was not a joke. With Mentor Dragon Emperor as a witness, it was impossible for Kong Shinmu to go back on his word. If he couldn't pay it back, then wouldn't the compound interest be too unbearable? However, Kong Shinmu was full of confidence and did not worry too much about this. The reason why he said he would pay it back in 2 months instead of 1 was already quite conservative. Kong Shinmu was confident that if he could get the Dragon Scar blood pendant, he would definitely be able to get a considerable improvement in the remaining time of this month. When he entered the Beast Abyss next month, no matter how bad his luck was, he would definitely be able to get some cultivation resources. Even if he was directly kicked out due to bad luck, he could still wait until the next month to try his luck. He couldn't possibly be unlucky for 2 months in a row, right? Kong Shinmu's harvest this time was bountiful. Although it was mainly due to good luck, it was also inseparable from his own strength. Moreover, the next time he entered, his strength would increase greatly. He needed to borrow experience points, but the amount was not too much. As long as his luck was not too bad, paying it back in 2 months was not too big of a problem. All right, then we'll do as you say. Xiao Yuhua thought about it carefully. No matter how she thought about it, she did not lose out. Even if Kong Shinmu really could not pay it back in 2 months, she did not intend to let Kong Shinmu return 3 times the amount. Paying it back twice was enough. She might as well let Kong Shinmu owe her a favor. In her opinion, it might be of greater use in the future. Since the Laughing Language Flower had agreed, then the rest of the matter was logical. Experience points could be exchanged and gifted, so as long as Xiao Yuhua was willing, she could totally lend Kong Shinmu a certain amount of experience points. Kong Shinmu did not want much, just enough to exchange for the Dragon Scar blood pendant. He directly exchanged the Dragon Scar blood pendant into his own hands. Got it! Kong Shinmu held the Dragon Scar blood pendant in his hand, feeling the surging power within it. It looked very calm, but the carved formation within it was filled with a rich power of the Dragon Scar blood. Of course, he would not test the effect of the Dragon Scar blood pendant at the exchange office. After thanking Xiao Yuhua, he took the Dragon Scar blood pendant and left the exchange office. Do you really think he can pay back these experience points in 2 months? Teacher Dragon Emperor smiled gently and asked Xiao Yuhua. To obtain so many experience points in 2 months, he has to at least have the strength of the Fekta Zone. It also depends on a bit of luck. Of course, if he has the strength of the Jade Zone, It'll be a piece of cake. He won't be able to reach the Jade District so quickly. Xiao Yuhua shook her head and looked at the back of Kong Xinmu as he left. However, after he obtains the Dragon's Scar Blood Pendant, it is very likely that he will be able to enter the Fecta District in one go. It will depend on his talent and to what extent he can bring out the effect of the Dragon's Scar Blood Pendant. Yes. Instructor Dragon Emperor nodded and did not continue to say anything. Also looking at the back of Kong Xinmu as he left, Instructor Dragon Emperor felt a little complicated. Kong Xinmu was so lucky. If this continued, Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy might really rely on him to make a name for itself in the future. The competition between the 4 Dragon Martial Academies was getting more and more intense. In the past exchanges between the 4 academies, Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy was always ranked first and second from the bottom. The top 2 places were almost always won by the 2 Dragon Martial Academies of the North Wilderness and South the Arch. If Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy could produce a top genius out of nowhere, Instructor Dragon Emperor also hoped to see him. After all, he was also a member of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy. Moreover, Instructor Dragon Emperor was also very likely to grow into a super divine dragon in the future. Geniuses like Xiao Yuhua and Kong Xinmu would basically leave the academy with them in the future and head out of the Dragon Martial continent. Chapter 43-19. Kong Xinmu immediately returned to his palace after obtaining the Dragon Mark Blood Pendant. He planned to test the effect of the Dragon Mark Blood Pendant. As for the increased absorption speed of the Dragon Mark's energy after merging with the Dragon Mark blood, Kong Xinmu did not need to use this function. In fact, it was just for show. It was just for show. In fact, he could already absorb the Dragon Mark's energy dozens of times faster than ordinary people by relying on his devouring power. To be safe, he planned to absorb the Dragon Mark's energy at 10 times the normal speed. If it was too fast, it would easily attract attention. If it was 10 times the normal speed, at least it would not affect others. Even if others were jealous, they would not do anything to him. Kong Xinmu did not think that people like Zhuo Xiaofeng were everywhere. Moreover, he was now cultivating in the Alcade district. The strength of the students in the Alcade district was not much different from that of Donghuang Yonggu College. Even if such students were jealous of Kong Xinmu, what could they do? In the entire Emperor Shi Dragon Martial Academy, there were not many people who needed to be wary of Kong Xinmu. In any case, he just had to be careful in the Beast Abyss. Even if he met other students from the Emperor Shi Dragon Martial Academy, he could not let his guard down. He had to be on his guard. Strength coordination. Kong Xinmu wore the Dragon Mark Blood Pendant in front of his chest. He felt a kind of power guiding him to familiarize himself with his body, allowing him to control the power in his body more perfectly. This kind of influence was subtle. Kong Xinmu felt that if he could control 90% of his power before, he would be able to completely control the remaining 10% in a month with the Dragon Mark Blood Pendant. Under normal circumstances, if Kong Xinmu improved too quickly, there would always be some power that he could not control, causing his actual combat power to be weaker. Most importantly, if a dragon martial artist could completely control his own power, the effects of various dragon martial techniques would also be improved. Although it would not be to the extent of a sudden increase, the effect of the increase in combat power was obvious. With the Dragon Mark Blood Pendant, my strength is equivalent to increasing by 10%. Of course, this needs time to settle. Kong Xinmu thought to himself. He was quite satisfied. Kong Xinmu felt that the Dragon-marked Blood Pendant's effect was very suitable for him, and now it seemed that it was indeed so. As long as he wore the Dragon's Scar Blood Pendant, no matter when he was resting or cultivating, there would always be a kind of energy that would nourish his entire body, allowing him to grasp his own strength faster. This was the effect of the mysterious formation carved in the Dragon Stain Blood Pendant. It allowed Kong Xinmu's spirit and body to be more compatible, and finally achieved the effect of completely controlling his own power. For now, I won't merge the power of the Dragon's Scar Blood into my body. There's no need. After all, it will still harm my body. Unless I have no other choice, there's no need to try it. Kong Xinmu sensed it slightly. This power was indeed able to stimulate the potential in his body, causing the divine dragon blood essence to boil. Consuming several times the amount of blood essence, allowing one to erupt with twice the amount of power, this effect was very useful when one was putting their life on the line. After familiarizing himself with the Dragon Stain Blood Pendant storage space, Kong Shinmu decided to try devouring the dragon mark's energy at 10 times the speed. Originally, he could devour at 3 times the speed, but it was more secretive, and he couldn't devour frequently. Otherwise, it would attract attention and bring trouble. However, now that he had the dragon-stained blood pendant as a shield, he didn't need to be afraid at all. That night, he was in his palace, and his devouring power erupted. With a speed 10 times faster than ordinary cultivators, he began to absorb the surrounding dragon mark's energy. It surrounded the entire palace that Kong Shinmu resided in. The periphery even formed a vortex of dragon mark's energy. It was incomparably dense, and it was continuously absorbed by Kong Shinmu, who was in the palace. Although it was night time, many dragon martial artists in Emperor Xi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy didn't need to rest for too long. They only rested once every few days. Many people were cultivating in seclusion. The students in the arcade zone who were closer to Kong Shinmu sensed the commotion and flew out of the palace to take a look. In the end, they discovered that the palace where Kong Shinmu resided was surrounded by the dragon mark's energy. It was incomparably pure, and it was being rapidly absorbed. This made them extremely astonished. What's going on? They spread the news to each other, and very quickly, the news spread throughout the entire Emperor Xi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy. All the students who stayed in Emperor Xi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy to cultivate basically knew about this. Just as everyone was bewildered, Instructor Dragon Emperor, who was in charge of the exchange of experience points, came out to explain the situation, calming down the commotion in Emperor Xi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy. At the same time, Xiao Yuhua also told her close friends that Kong Shinmu had obtained the dragon-stained blood pendant. Therefore, he had fused with the power of the dragon mark's blood, and was able to devour the dragon mark's energy at a faster speed. It was only then that the students understood what was going on. However, even the gentle instructor Dragon Emperor and Xiao Yuhua didn't expect that after Kong Shinmu fused with the power of the dragon-stained blood pendant, the speed at which he absorbed the dragon mark's energy had increased to 10 times that of an ordinary person. Wasn't this absorption speed a little too heaven-defying? If he could continue cultivating like this, he would probably only need a few months to advance from the Dragon King to the Dragon Emperor. Of course, the prerequisite was that Kong Shinmu's talent was high enough and he wouldn't encounter a bottleneck. Just from the amount of Dragon Mark's energy, Kong Shinmu's absorption for 1 day was equivalent to the absorption of others for 10 days. As for Kong Shinmu, he cultivated alone in the palace and was more or less aware of the situation in the outside world. However, he didn't leave his palace. He had been cultivating in the palace for half a month before he walked out of the palace for the first time. At this time, Kong Shinmu's Dragon King level Divine Dragon Blood had finally reached the 6th level of the Dragon King level. To Kong Shinmu, breaking through 3 levels of the Divine Dragon Blood along the way was not difficult at all. He didn't encounter any bottlenecks during this period. If it were other Dragon Warrior students, they might have encountered bottlenecks at the Dragon King level. Then, it would be even more difficult for them to break through. In fact, most Dragon Warriors would encounter bottlenecks at the Dragon King level. They would encounter bottlenecks sooner or later. Because of this, many students of the Dragon Martial Academy, even if they were talented and were already at the top of the Dragon Martial continent, would not be able to break through to the Dragon Emperor level in a short period of time. Some needed 10 years, some needed 20 years. It was hard to say. Chapter 43:20. Kong Shinmu had not encountered any bottlenecks so far, which was considered very smooth. He had always been curious about his breakthrough speed, which was much faster than others. Apart from the fact that his devouring power could completely absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth treasures, another reason was that he had not encountered any bottlenecks. This was something that no one could imagine. But Kong Shinmu would not casually reveal this point. Although the Dragon King's Blood Essence stage, a small increase in grade did not have a particularly big impact on his combat power. But this time Kong Shinmu broke through from level 3 to level 6, the change was still very big. Basically, after transforming into a divine dragon, his talent became even stronger. His overall strength was at least 30% stronger than half a month ago. Now, if he were to face Xiao Yuhua again, Kong Shinmu was confident that he could easily withstand her attacks and find an opportunity to counterattack. However, in next year's school competition, it was impossible for Kong Shinmu to target Xiao Yuhua. After all, she had lent him a lot of experience points. If he were to challenge her at that time, it would be too heartless. Moreover, Kong Xinmu's goal in the next school competition was definitely to go to the Migres district, and not the Yuhing district where Xiao Yuhua was now. His improvement speed was far beyond that of ordinary people. The grade of Divine Dragon Blood Essence has reached Dragon King level 6. It seems that the Dragon Mark's energy that I need to devour for further advancement has become a lot more. I'll stop for now. Kong Xinmu had a complete plan for his cultivation. During this period of time, because of the Dragon Mark Blood Pendant, his control of his own strength had reached a higher level, which increased his overall strength by at least 50%. Under the situation where his strength was consolidated fast enough, Kong Xinmu did not have to worry about any negative effects from a breakthrough too fast. This heaven and earth treasure can be devoured now. Only then did Kong Xinmu take out the heaven and earth treasure from the beast abyss, and prepared to devour it. Heaven and earth treasures contained incomparably rich heaven and earth spiritual energy. Absorbing heaven and earth treasures was the fastest way to raise one's cultivation level. Kong Xinmu had previously used his experience points to exchange for heaven and earth treasures. Now that he had obtained this seaweed, he naturally wouldn't use it to exchange for experience points. This was what he relied on to make a breakthrough in his cultivation. For example, Kong Xinmu only needed to completely devour 3 of these heavenly treasures to be able to break through from the 5th level of the Nirvana Tribulation Realm to the 6th level of the Nirvana Tribulation Realm. However, this was because his devouring power could completely absorb the heaven and earth spiritual chi without any dissipation or wastage. This efficiency was 5 to 10 times better than ordinary dragon martial artists. He only needed 3 stalks to break through. 4 ordinary dragon martial artists, no matter how talented they would need at least 10 stalks to break through. This was the difference. No matter how talented one was, absorbing the heaven and earth spiritual energy from the heaven and earth treasures would cause some of it to dissipate and be wasted. Therefore, some dragon weapon formations would have cultivation arrays attached to them to increase the efficiency of dragon martial artists absorbing heaven and earth treasures. This kind of dragon weapon cultivation was very effective for ordinary dragon martial artists, but for Kong Xinmu, it was of no use at all. During this period of time, Kong Xinmu did not see Ran Ran. This girl seemed to have gone out to complete her training mission. It was impossible for her to always follow behind Kong Xinmu. Furthermore, she had a very strong personality. She did not wish to be a burden to Kong Xinmu. If she wanted to be able to help Kong Xinmu, the only way was to work hard and strive to become stronger. Although Kong Xinmu did not see the little girl, he occasionally saw Xiao Yuhua. Xiao Yuhua said that she had seen Ran Ran on the training stone tablet a few times. This girl completed her training mission very quickly. However, compared to the speed at which Kong Xinmu earned experience points in the Beast Abyss, it was still far behind. Devour. After devouring this heaven and earth treasure that was obtained from the bottom of the Beast Abyss and guarded by the Demon King Mirage Snake, Kong Xinmu's cultivation realm was getting closer and closer to the 6th level of the Nirvana Tribulation Realm. He was only one step away from the final stage. He did not even need to consolidate his cultivation realm. When his cultivation realm was close to the 6th level, his combat strength would naturally increase by at least 20%. To break through, I still have to return to the Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty. It's a pity that the Emperor Shi formation of the Emperor Shi Dragon Martial Academy will definitely cost a lot of experience points to teleport to a place as far away as the Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty. I don't have many experience points now. Before I go back to break through, I have to enter the Beast Abyss again. Less than a month had passed since Kong Xinmu's last trip to the Beast Abyss. Therefore, he prepared to go to the training stone tablet to take a look and complete some training missions to earn some experience points. One had to know that to go to the Beast Abyss, one would need to spend a lot of experience points. Currently, Kong Xinmu was penniless. When he arrived near the training stone tablet, he saw a few students discussing something near the training stone tablet. They were 4 young girls with graceful figures and graceful appearances. They were laughing and chatting happily, and they were extremely eye-catching, causing Jiang Xinwu to feel a little embarrassed to size them up. Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy was mainly made up of young female dragon martial artists. Hence, encountering 4 young girls at the same time was not a rare occurrence. What was strange was that these 4 young girls had extremely high cultivation realms. They all had the blood essence of a divine dragon at the level of the Dragon Emperor. Moreover, they were at least in the rebirth tribulation realm. When Kong Xinmu came over, They only glanced at him and then ignored him. To them, Kong Shinmu's level was still too low. They are students from the Fekta district. As they got closer, Kong Shinmu's heart skipped a beat. The strength of the four of them was absolutely terrifying. With Kong Shinmu's current abilities, he would definitely die a horrible death if he fought any one of them. Kong Shinmu was not interested in what the four of them were talking about. He only wanted to see if there were any training missions on the training stone tablet that were suitable for him. However, just because he did not want to hear it did not mean that he could not hear it. These four Dragon Emperor students from the Fekta district seemed to be talking about something about the Beast Abyss. If one did not know about the Beast Abyss, one would not be able to hear it. However, Kong Shinmu had been to the Beast Abyss before, so he naturally knew that they were talking about it. I didn't expect that the Desolate North and South the Archdragon Martial Academies would actually fight in the Beast Abyss. It's strange. Who won the competition for the Demon Emperor Soaring Snake in the end? They said that it was snatched by the Boulder Destiny Dragon from the South the Archdragon Martial Academy, but that guy refused to admit it. The Desolate North students did not believe it. It's best if they fight each other. It's best if they fight when they see each other in the Beast Abyss. It'll be best if we can take advantage of it. The four young girls chatted and giggled. Kong Shinmu felt a little embarrassed as he listened. It turned out that the matter regarding the Demon Emperor Soaring Snake had already blown up a little. He was the one who interfered in this matter. Only he knew the truth. Of course, Mentor Dragon Emperor, who was in charge of the training points, should also know that this matter was done by Kong Shinmu. It should be known that one of the demon cores that Kong Shinmu handed over was the Demon Emperor Soaring Snake's demon core. At that time, Mentor Dragon Emperor was a little surprised. He did not know how Kong Shinmu was able to obtain such a demon core. However, the students from the South the Archdragon Martial Academy and the Desolate North Dragon Martial Academy seemed to be in a bad mood because of this matter. The matter had blown up, and Mentor Dragon Emperor from the Emperor Shi Dragon Martial Academy naturally knew about it. However, Mentor Dragon Emperor from the Emperor Shi Dragon Martial Academy would definitely not reveal the truth of this matter. Chapter 43-21. Not long after, the four female dragon martial artists from the Fekta region left together. They were probably here to take a look at the Experience Stone Tablet to see if there were any better missions. If there weren't, they would go to the Beast Abyss together. Kong Shinmu watched them leave and didn't think much about it. Anyway, it was impossible for him to expose the matter regarding the Demon Emperor Soaring Serpent. That was enough. He had reaped all the benefits, while the Southern Emperor Dragon Martial Academy's Boulder Fate Dragon was the scapegoat. Kong Shinmu mourned for that guy symbolically for a moment in his heart before focusing his attention on the Experience Stone Tablet. On the Experience Stone Tablet, there were many missions suitable for students from the Yuhing region to complete. Kong Shinmu only wanted to earn experience points for a trip to the Beast Abyss. If there were no accidents, one mission would be enough. Of course, it was the kind that was more difficult for ordinary students, but not too much pressure for Kong Shinmu. This kind of mission was mainly to exterminate demonic beast hordes. If ordinary dragon martial artists went there, they naturally wouldn't be able to defeat the beast hordes alone. However, Kong Shinmu's devouring talent made him unafraid of this kind of training. No matter how many there were, he could finish them all off by himself. He was only afraid of existences that could crush him. If they could seriously injure or even kill him in one move, it would be very difficult for him to deal with them. Of course, the targets suitable for students from the Yuhing region would not have the ability to kill Kong Shinmu in one move. Therefore, Kong Shinmu only needed to choose the kind of missions with high enough rewards. War experience? Kong Shinmu suddenly saw a mission that piqued his interest. The main thing was that this mission had a lot of experience points as a reward. It was even equivalent to 10 times the reward for exterminating the Snow Sky Wolf demonic beast hordes. However, Kong Shinmu took a closer look and realized that the experience points were just casually marked. This mission belonged to the War Experience category, which was an independent category. About 3,000 miles away from the Dragon Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy, there were two Dragon Emperor kingdoms that were currently at war. They were fighting over a relatively rich mining area. In ancient times, extremely powerful dragon warriors were buried in this mining area. The corpses of countless dragon warriors caused the ordinary stones in the mining area to carry a certain amount of dragon mark energy. Therefore, This mining area was extremely useful in raising the grade of a dragon warrior's divine dragon blood essence. In order to fight for the mining area, the two Dragon Emperor's kingdom experts had been fighting for a long time. Now it was an all-out war. Tens of thousands of people from the Dragon Martial Warrior Army had gathered at the edge of the mining area. One is the Frost Dragon Emperor Dynasty, and the other is the Thunderbolt Dragon Country. The training mission from Emperor Xi's Dragon Martial Academy only allows dragon martial artist students to help the Frost Dragon Emperor Dynasty. This is because that mining area originally belonged to the Frost Dragon Emperor Dynasty. This time, the Thunderbolt Dragon Country is the invader. Kong Xinmu hated invaders. After all, the Yen Dragon Emperor Dynasty had been invaded by other Dragon Emperor kingdoms because of the Dragon Sealing Abyss. If it wasn't for him, who could summon his mentor through the mark of the Dragon Martial Academy, the Yen Dragon Emperor Dynasty would have been destroyed. The Thunderbolt Dragon Country. For this mission, you will receive a reward every time you kill a Dragon King level expert from the Thunderbolt Dragon Country. You will be rewarded once for each kill. The points awarded for each kill are comparable to the points awarded for killing the Snow Sky Wolf Demon. The rewards for this training mission are too great. I'd be letting myself down if I didn't accept it. However, this training mission isn't the only one. As long as you're at the level of Yuhing District, you can accept this mission. This training mission was issued 3 days ago. In other words, the Frost Dragon Emperor Dynasty might already have students from the Emperor Xi Dragon Martial Academy helping them. In fact, Kong Xinmu was quite interested in the Dragon Warrior burial ground under the mining area. In the past, he had to absorb the essence of the divine dragon skeletons to increase the grade of the divine dragon blood essence. However, there was no need for that now. That was because if Kong Xinmu wanted to increase the grade of the divine dragon blood essence, he could absorb the energy of the dragon mark in the Dragon Martial Academy. Now, Kong Xinmu knew that the dragon warrior skeletons in the divine dragon ancient tomb contained the energy that could increase the grade of his blood essence. It was the energy of the dragon mark. In the 4 Dragon Martial Academies, the dragon mark energy was extremely abundant. Kong Xinmu had no idea where the dragon mark energy came from, but it didn't stop him from absorbing it. It was fine as long as he had it. There was no need for him to look for the divine dragon ancient tomb now. It was too troublesome. If that's the case, I'll accept this mission. Kong Xinmu thought to himself as he marked it on the experience stone tablet. After accepting this mission, he could teleport to the Frost Dragon Emperor Dynasty 3,000 miles away through the Emperor Xi Formation. One could imagine how difficult this mission would be. The main reason was that his opponent was the Dragon Emperor Dynasty, which was extremely powerful. At the very least, Kong Xinmu might not be able to defeat the Dragon King generals of the Dragon Warrior Army. The key was that the generals of the Dragon Warrior Army of the Dragon Emperor Dynasty were all Reincarnation Tribulation Realm experts. Even if they were only at the Dragon King realm, they were likely to be at the 4th or 7th tier of the Reincarnation Tribulation realm. If it was the first 3 Reincarnation Tribulation realm Dragon King realm, Kong Xinmu might be able to kill him. However, if it was the 4th tier and above, the difference was too great. Kong Xinmu was basically no match for the other party. However, Kong Xinmu suddenly thought of something. The Nightmare Ink beast seems to be able to poison the Dragon Warriors. After being poisoned, the Dragon Warriors and Demonic Beast's combat strength will be weakened, and they might even be poisoned to death. Experts at the Dragon Emperor or Demon Emperor level are immune to the Nightmare Ink beast's poison. However, existences at the Dragon King or Demon King level will not be poisoned to death, but their combat strength will be greatly weakened. This is because they need to use their own strength to suppress the outbreak of the poison. When Kong Xinmu thought of this, he felt that he might be able to make use of a wave of Nightmare Ink beasts. If he succeeded, he would have a bountiful harvest this time. He did not hesitate for long and directly headed for the Emperor Xi Formation, intending to teleport to the Frost Dragon Emperor Dynasty. When he arrived at the Emperor Xi Formation, he saw 2 figures. One of them was very familiar. It was Xiao Yuhua. The other was also a young girl. Kong Xinmu had never seen her before, but he could feel that this girl's cultivation was comparable to Xiao Yuhua's. She was definitely a student of the Yuhing district. Kong Xinmu, are you going to train? When Xiao Yuhua saw Kong Xinmu, her eyes lit up. She was now more curious about Kong Xinmu's state. She wanted to know how much he had improved after obtaining the Dragon Scar Blood Pendant. Not bad. Kong Shinmu nodded. Are you going to the Frost Dragon Emperor Dynasty? If so, how about we form a team? Xiao Yuhua asked with a smile. Chapter 43-22. Kong Shinmu immediately nodded and said, "All right, let's go together." It would be difficult for him to deal with an opponent who was at the middle or high tier of the Rebirth Tribulation realm alone, even if the opponent was only the Dragon King. However, it would be easier to deal with three of them. It was worth noting that in this war experience mission, if one killed a Holy Dragon powerhouse, they would also be able to obtain experience points. However, it would only be 1/10 of the reward for killing a Dragon King powerhouse. In other words, one would only be able to match one Dragon King if they killed 10 Holy Dragons. When Xiao Yuhua invited Kong Shinmu to join them, the young lady in the white dress beside her merely glanced at Kong Shinmu and did not say anything. However, one could tell from her gaze that she did not seem to like Kong Shinmu very much. It was unknown if she did not believe in Kong Shinmu's abilities. Logically speaking, Kong Shinmu had sparred with Xiao Yuhua before. Hence, the students of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy should have some understanding of Kong Shinmu's abilities. Kong Shinmu did not think too much about it. After all, if he joined the team, he would basically play the role of a meat shield. His attacking ability was indeed not strong. Although he could rely on various means to drag out his opponent to death in a one-on-one battle, it was almost impossible to kill an opponent in a team battle. In terms of attacking ability, Xiao Yuhua was indeed much stronger than Kong Shinmu. Her move, Flowers Do Not Speak, Rivers Run Red, was much more lethal and destructive than Kong Shinmu's Void Dragon Sky Raising Break. With Kong Shinmu blocking in front, she would have plenty of room to unleash her abilities. Let's set off with just the three of us. Although our combat ability will be stronger if there are more of us, it will be easier for us to expose ourselves in battle. Xiao Yuhua thought for a moment and said, "Moreover, if there are too many of us, the experience points that each of us will receive will be too little. The three of us are about the same level of strength, so it's suitable for us to form a team. When the time comes, we can just split the experience points evenly among the three of us." Kong Shinmu nodded in agreement. The other girl in a white dress didn't have any objections. She just glanced at Kong Shinmu and frowned slightly. No one knew what she was thinking. After Kong Shinmu agreed, Xiao Yuhua made the decision to set off. The girl in the white dress seemed to be very obedient to Xiao Yuhua and did not refute his decision. Kong Shinmu naturally listened to Xiao Yuhua. In Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy, Xiao Yuhua had much more experience than Kong Shinmu. At the very least, he would not be at a disadvantage if he followed her. The three of them stepped into the Emperor Shi formation together. With a flash of white light, the three of them disappeared. When Jiang Shenwu opened his eyes again, he saw that he had arrived in a world of ice and snow, which reminded him of the floating dragon country he had been in previously. However, he knew that this was not the floating dragon country. The Frost Dragon Emperor Dynasty. The name of the Dragon Emperor Dynasty reminded Kong Shinmu of the place where he was born, the Flaming Dragon Emperor Dynasty. There was only a difference of one word between the two. The Frost Dragon Emperor Dynasty had a large area covered in frost and snow. The overall temperature was much lower than the other Dragon Emperor dynasties. It was said that the dragon martial artists of the Frost Dragon Emperor dynasty could easily obtain the essence blood of divine dragons with ice and water attributes when they awakened. This was related to the environment. This place is in the east of the Frost Dragon Emperor dynasty. Xiao Yuhua had been to the Frost Dragon Emperor dynasty before. She looked around and made a judgment. The Thunderbolt Dragon Country is connected to the east of the Frost Dragon Emperor dynasty. There is a snowy mountain here, and the competing mining area is in the snowy mountain. We don't need to move. We just need to wait for someone to come and help us. Along with Xiao Yuhua's words, the silhouettes of two divine dragons appeared not far away. Their bodies were covered in dragon armors. They were actually two Dragon King level powerhouses. Two Dragon Kings had personally come to welcome the reinforcement students from the Emperor Shi Dragon Martial Academy. It was obvious that the Frost Dragon Emperor dynasty attached great importance to the reinforcement from the Emperor Shi Dragon Martial Academy. After all, the students of the Emperor Shi Dragon Martial Academy were all elites. Although their cultivation levels were not high, their level of the Source Dragon martial technique was much stronger than the dragon martial artists of the Dragon Emperor dynasty outside. Moreover, the students of the Emperor Shi Dragon Martial Academy had top-notch combat abilities. The role they could play in a war was unimaginable. When the Frost Dragon Emperor dynasty was invaded, they immediately asked for help from the Emperor Shi Dragon Martial Academy. They were originally under the jurisdiction of the Emperor Shi Dragon Martial Academy, but the Emperor Shi Dragon Martial Academy would not openly help them. Hence, they only set up a training mission for the students to take action. With the help of the students and the Frost Dragon Emperor dynasty's strength, it was not a big problem to fight against the Thunderbolt Dragon country. Of course, unless the Thunderbolt Dragon country had other reinforcements. In that case, the Emperor Shi Dragon Martial Academy would really have to take action. This was a place only 3,000 miles away from the Emperor Shi Dragon Martial Academy. It was not like the Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty, which was tens of thousands of miles away from Donghuang Yonggu College. If the Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty was invaded, the Dragon Emperor would not have the means to report it to the people of Donghuang Yonggu College. Hence, the two were not the same. Welcome to the Frost Dragon Emperor dynasty for help. Thank you very much. The two Dragon King level fighters flew over. One of them turned into a strong general wearing metal armor and landed in front of Kong Shin-mu and the others. He said respectfully, "Please follow us to our camp. We will briefly explain the situation." "Thank you." Xiao Yuhua was very polite. After saying this, she led Kong Shin-mu and the girl in the white dress and followed them. Until now, Xiao Yuhua had not introduced the girl in the white dress. This made Kong Shin-mu a little puzzled. He was not interested in the girl in the white dress, but since they had formed a team and were going to act together later, it would be troublesome not to know how to address her, right? Would he have to say, "Hey," when he wanted her to attack? This was too scary. Kong Shin-mu shook his head and did not think too much about it. In any case, this should not be the first time Xiao Yuhua had come into contact with war experience. She should have her own arrangements, so there was no need for him to worry. The three of them followed the two Dragon King generals and flew all the way. Soon, they landed in a camp of the Dragon Martial practitioners at the foot of the snowy mountain. This camp was much bigger than the one Kong Shin-mu had seen in the floating dragon country. There were at least 70 to 80,000 Dragon Martial practitioners. The floating dragon country was just a demon race that had surrounded the snowy mountain. In the Dragon Martial continent, no matter how strong the demon race was, it could not compare to the Dragon Emperor dynasty. But now, the Frost Dragon Emperor dynasty seemed to have turned out in full force. The scale was naturally not something that the floating dragon country had sent to destroy the wolf demons could compare to. In the camp of the Dragon Martial practitioners, Kong Shin-mu saw many Dragon Martial practitioners coming and going. Every one of them had hot blood and anger on their faces. It was obvious that the Dragon Martial practitioners of the Frost Dragon Emperor dynasty were united against the Thunderbolt Dragon country's invasion, and they wanted to repel the invaders. Kong Shin-mu had followed them all the way and knew that the two Dragon King generals were both at the peak of the 9th tier of the reincarnation rebirth realm. Kong Shin-mu was really not a match for such an existence. Once the opponent used his reincarnation talent, he could directly crush him. Unless Kong Shin-mu could reach the level of the Dragon Emperor dynasty, he might be able to resist the opponent's attack. But if the battle dragged on, it would be difficult for Kong Shin-mu to win. Because he could not break through the opponent's defense, not even his devouring power. Chapter 43-23. Soon, Kong Shin-mu learned about the current battle situation at the camp of the Dragon Warrior Army of the Frost Dragon Emperor's dynasty. The Frost Dragon Emperor's dynasty's Dragon Warrior Army was temporarily guarding the mining area. Moreover, it was the Frost Dragon Emperor's dynasty's Dragon Emperor, the Frost Dragon Emperor, who personally oversaw the mining area. The Thunderbolt Dragon country was temporarily unable to break through the Frost Dragon Emperor's personal protection. They could only send many strong and weak dragon warriors to wreak havoc in the snowy mountains around the mining area. There was no large-scale battle between the two Dragon Emperor's dynasties for the time being. However, such scattered battles brought great losses to the Frost Dragon Emperor's dynasty. Now that the students of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy had come to help, the situation was somewhat alleviated. Kong Shin-mu learned that the Frost Dragon Emperor's dynasty had sent more than 10 students of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy to help fight against the Thunderbolt Dragon country. Although these students were not the top combat power, they were definitely the backbone of the army. With their addition, the Frost Dragon Emperor's dynasty's situation was much better. Kong Xinmu, Xiao Yuhua, and the girl in the white dress formed a small team and set off together. The two Dragon King's generals gave them advice. First, don't cross the border. Second, don't go to the area in the east of the Snowy Mountains. That area was the territory of a Snow Mountain Demon Emperor. They didn't say what race the Snow Mountain Demon Emperor was. They only said that the Demon Emperor stood aloof from worldly affairs and lived in the Snowy Mountains. It would only attack the dragon warriors if they were foolish enough to provoke it. Of course, Kong Xinmu wouldn't find trouble with the Demon Emperor for no reason. To him, even the Dragon Kings of the Thunderbolt Dragon Country were difficult to deal with, let alone the Demon Emperor and the Dragon Emperor. Then, Xiao Yuhua brought the two of them away from the camp and flew toward the Snowy Mountains. Our target is the Holy Dragon. Xiao Yuhua pursed her lips and said, we can deal with a Holy Dragon martial artist even if he has cultivated to the middle or advanced stage of the Samsara Tribulation realm. But if we encounter a Dragon King, unless he's an early-stage Rebirth Tribulation Dragon King, it's best not to provoke him. This was exactly what Kong Xinmu was thinking. On the other hand, the girl in the white dress frowned slightly when she heard that. She felt that it was a little too conservative, but she didn't say anything. After all, the process of coming out for this kind of war training was extremely dangerous. There was no problem with safety first. For most of the students who came to the Frost Dragon Emperor dynasty as reinforcements, their goal was basically the Holy Dragon. Furthermore, even a high-stage reincarnation tribulation realm Holy Dragon was not easy to deal with. After all, this was a battlefield. Normally, none of the dragon warriors from Qi Dragon Country would attack the students of the Dragon Emperor Academy. However, in times of war, the students of Emperor Xi's Dragon Martial Academy had already made it clear that they were going to support the Frost Dragon Emperor's dynasty. Hence, the dragon warriors from the Thunder Dragon Country wouldn't show any mercy to the students. This was not the first time such a situation had happened. Generally speaking, even if the students died on the battlefield, the academy wouldn't care. Otherwise, it wouldn't be of much use to the students. The three of them transformed into dragons and flew toward the Snowy Mountains. Soon, they flew over the first snowy mountain. It's very likely that wandering dragon warriors from the Thunder Dragon Country will appear here. Xiao Yuhua looked at the snow-covered scene below and reminded him in a low voice. In order to attack the Frost Dragon Emperor dynasty, the Thunder Dragon Country didn't just recruit the officials. They also recruited many dragon warriors from the common folk. These dragon warriors' biggest role was to disrupt the Frost Dragon Emperor dynasty's plans and attract the attention of the dragon warriors from the Frost Dragon Emperor dynasty. For these wandering dragon warriors, the biggest opportunity for them to come to this snowy mountain at the border was the mining area. Even if it wasn't in the middle of the mining area, it was very likely that ores with dragon mark energy could be found within a few hundred kilometers of the mining area. Beneath the thick snowy mountains were layers of ore rocks. These ore rocks had been affected by the powerful dragon warrior corpses buried deep underground. They had absorbed a lot of dragon mark energy and could be absorbed by the dragon warriors. If they were lucky, these wandering dragon warriors could directly advance from Sky Dragon to Holy Dragon. It was not impossible for them to break through from Holy Dragon to Dragon King. This mining area had provided the Frost Dragon Emperor dynasty with many Dragon King-level powerhouses. Of course, the mining area might not be very rich. The key was that if the Thunder Dragon Country occupied it, it would definitely greatly increase the country's strength. This kind of war would be a long one. The Thunder Dragon Country had already built all kinds of dragon warrior formations on their own territory. They had made preparations before the invasion of the Frost Dragon Emperor dynasty. Therefore, it was impossible for the Frost Dragon Emperor dynasty to counterattack. They could only passively wait for the Thunder Dragon Country to invade. Under these circumstances, the war would last for a very long time. At the current stage, the Thunder Dragon Country was mainly weakening the overall strength of the Frost Dragon Emperor dynasty. They would wait for the critical moment to mobilize their powerhouses and kill them in one blow. Of course, the Thunder Dragon Country could not call for help for this kind of thing. The other Dragon Emperor dynasty nearby did not care about this matter. This mining area was located at the border of the Thunder Dragon Country and the Frost Dragon Emperor dynasty. It was useless for the other dragon countries to get involved. They did not believe that the Thunder Dragon Country would give them the promised benefits if they conquered this mining area together. This was a war between the Thunder Dragon Country and the Frost Dragon Emperor dynasty. Kong Shin-mu followed the laughing flower and went deeper into the snowy mountains. He found that the surrounding temperature was getting lower, and the devouring power seemed to be getting more and more active. He was getting closer and closer to the mining area. With the senses of the devouring power, he might even be able to find some ores that contained dragon mark energy. Of course, the dragon mark energy in these ores was not dense, and it was even extremely sparse. It was useful for ordinary dragon warriors, but not for students like Kong Shin-mu and the others from the Dragon Martial Academy. Absorbing dragon mark energy in the Dragon Martial Academy for a day was equivalent to searching for a month here. Only under such cultivation conditions could it be possible to cultivate Super Shenron. Even so, the number of Super Shenron produced was pitifully low. From this, it could be seen that it was extremely difficult for a dragon warrior to become a Super Shenron. Soon, Kong Shin-mu sensed that there seemed to be a group of dragon warriors behind the snowy mountains on the left. However, when he flew forward and looked back, he found that the dragon warriors were from the Frost Dragon Emperor Dynasty's army. They were stationed in that area to defend. This is too close to the Frost Dragon Emperor Dynasty's army. I'm afraid the Thunder Dragon country's dragon warriors won't be stupid enough to come here. Kong Shin-mu shook his head and thought to himself. However, just as he turned around and was about to continue flying forward, he suddenly narrowed his eyes and looked back at the group of dragon warriors stationed there. He had some experience when he annihilated the Snow Sky Wolf Demon Clan. At this moment, he found some clues. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.